Hello, y'all. Welcome once again. It's good to see you here at Level 1 Adventuring. I feel like I'm so off my intro game the past couple days, but hey, we're rolling with it. I am your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott. If you're new here, we're happy to have you. If you're a returning member, then even happier. What is Level 1 Adventuring if you have not clicked on our links before? We are a role-playing game and tabletop role-playing game channel. Hey Fleetwood, good to see you in the chat as always. I love seeing the regulars show up for the new stuff as well as the usual series. But we do a lot of things. We do primarily tabletop role-playing games. We do big group games that have big names like D&D. We also do smaller solo RPGs and indie RPGs as well. We have some great playthroughs of games like Firelights and Rune, for example, which is I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot me say this time through. And we're going to get to what we're doing in just a moment. But before that, please like and follow us on all the platforms. Your time and energy is so appreciated. And every time we get another follower like that just puts, our stuff in front of more eyes, and that means a lot. Also, join the Discord. It's where I post about what games we're going to be playing next, what series are coming up, what you'd like to see. We joke, we meme. It's also very close to becoming a play-by-post D&D community server soon, so if you want to play with some other people set in the Homebrew world of our main campaign, that's where you're going to go. It's going to be a good time. And thank you to Tabletop Audio for giving us the spooky atmospheric sounds that you're going to be hearing throughout the night. And thank you StreamLabs and StreamSpell for all of the cool digital effects and other fun elements of the stream that you are seeing on your screen. If you like it, click on the affiliate link down below and, get yourself some stream upgrades and help us out in the process. But I think that is my usual spiel. Oh, actually, it is my usual spiel, but I'm going to say one other spiel. Actually, two other spiels. Number one, thank you to Spencer Campbell. Spencer Campbell is the creator of the game that we're going to be playing tonight, or we're going to start playing tonight. I'm sure it's going to be several sessions long if our original playthrough of Reap is or Rune, I should say, is any indicator. But Spencer makes a lot of great role-playing games and game content, has released several independent, RPG creations writing, so very much something I want to do with my time and energy, so I very much respect and honor that. But also makes great content about other solo role-playing games on his YouTube. And that's how I found out about a lot of the solo games that I've played as I've gone on this year, really experimenting with solo games. So Spencer's great. The games are great, and we've already as a community played through the opening realm of Rune together, a game that was released, it feels like maybe a half a year, couple months ago, that was sort of Souls-like, so very much thematically and mechanically felt very much like a Soulsborne game, which Reap, which we'll see playing together tonight, is very similar. It's actually built, this is going to be a joke you're probably going to hear me make a lot. It's made out of the same bones as Rune, right? But instead of playing like a tormented warrior, soldier, knight person struggling through a doomed realm, very like Soulsy, right? You are instead playing a necromancer known as a reaper, and you are getting to use some spooky magics to, fulfill your goals. And we're going to learn more about what those goals are together as we play. Also, another shout out to just the growing Level 1 community in general. I think right now we're sitting at 162 follows, and we're like towards the end of May. I originally had that goal set for 150, I want to say, at the beginning of this month, and just from continued support and streams and posts, it's been growing very steadily. And so that's very cool that we're already like 10 up from where I thought we'd be around this time, or I'd hoped we'd be, I should say, this month. So, I mean, it just goes to show everyone showing up for us, and my heart, my cold, dark necromancer heart is warmed by your support. So thank you so much. But with that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off performance mode, because we all know that I am too tempted to look at myself instead of the camera. Oh, but before I do that, what I should do is make sure that we can see set up. All right, there we go. Oh, also notice my spooky necromancer lighting in the background. Normally it's red for level 1, but We're going off brand. We're going off road. We're doing some spooky stuff. Also, I should say, check this out. Decided to get real on brand. We got the all black everything. We got the necromancer shirt. We're really playing into the the lore here. And who knows? Maybe I'll just wear the same necromancer shirt every Reap stream that we have. You know, just to keep the spirit alive. Another bad necromancy joke. There's a lot of really terrible necromancy puns that you can make, and I'm sure I will find a way to make all of them by the time we play through the majority of this playthrough. But that being said, oh, I should say this too while I'm switching over to performance mode. So we're going to be playing this live tonight on Twitch. I will, of course, be uploading this to YouTube so you can catch episodes later and review it. So I'm going to go pretty much through everything. I'm going to do like a rules look through, right? Because we did play through the rules. We did a rules through when we played Rune as well. But I've been told that there are some pretty significant differences in terms of like how the game plays, even though it may feel familiar. And plus, I mean, there's new stuff, which I don't want to just assume I know and then mess up. So we're going to do a rules through, and then we're going to look at the quick start guide, and then we're going to go ahead and play. I haven't looked too far ahead with the exception of some of the things about how the realm works and looks, because I wanted to have a little cheat sheet made before we started. But a lot of what we're actually doing, we're going to do like live together, which will be pretty fun. And because this is being uploaded to YouTube, if you're watching this right now and you're like, oh, I don't want to do a rules through, I don't want to do all of this and that, I just want to see the game, Wolf. Okay, great. Then you can check us out on YouTube after I upload this, which will hopefully be in the next day or so. And I will have timestamps for getting, you know, me done talking, getting to the meat and potatoes, the gameplay, the good stuff. So if you... meat and potatoes, meat and... I don't know, carrion and bone. Once again, this is going to be tough for me to not make necromancer jokes. You can just skip to where you want to see on the YouTube video, but you are live right now, and we are live right now, which means you have to suffer through it all with me. Well, actually, I should say you have to suffer through me while you enjoy Spencer Campbell's Reap. So there's actually, I posted it on our socials, and I posted it on... what do you call it? Our chat right here. So these rules right now are live. You can, the quick start rules, you can download them if you want to play at home, start learning how to play on your own. You can already do it. And there's also a Kickstarter that's happening soon-ish. I also linked that. So you can get notified when the Kickstarter goes live if you want to help fund, you know, the project in its entirety. And you can also keep up with Spencer at Gila RPGs, at Gila RPGs on Twitter. Very active poster, and always posting about his projects. So if you need a reference point for where you can get these rules for yourself and where you can support the game when it goes, when it's fully alive, then there you go. Nar300 says, hi, what this? Nar, you just came in after I described it. Reap is a solo RPG, a solo Souls-like RPG by the same creators of Rune, which is another solo RPG game we played here on stream previously. And it's actually built out of the same foundation of Rune, but instead of playing like a forlorn knight, like in a Souls game, you are playing, yes, a necromancer. Says, I see necromancer in the title and I'm instantly intrigued. Well, lucky for you, this is what it is, baby. You want to make skeletons dance? You want to suck the souls out of your friends and your enemies? Hopefully your enemies more than your friends. This is what this game's all about. So we're going to do a rules through, and then we're going to do a playthrough, and we're going to get as far as we can go until we have to stop, and then we will replay. Oh, Fleetwood, subscribe to Tier 1. Thank you so much for the sub 2 months. You are so appreciated. I always here in chat, always giving us such support. Thank you, Fleetwood. And so yeah, we are going to start doing the rules through, and then we'll get to the gameplay. And if Reap is anything like Rune, we're going to get some lore as we read through the rules, which is going to be great. So let's start. Spencer Campbell, Reap. Also, very cool art. The art in Rune I also really liked as well. And from what I've seen so far in the book, the art is very similar, except I like that in Rune, all of the accent color was red, and in Reap, all the accent color is blue. So it's kind of like, you can see the same visual, what's the word, through line between the two games, but there's like that little twinge of difference, which is nice. Reap. What is this? It's the Reap Quickstart. It's designed to give you a feel for how Reap is played. Because it is a playtest, it's not intended to be rules complete. Gotcha. Reminds me of another necromantic solo RPG I heard called Lichdom. I'm making a mental note about Lichdom, because maybe we can play that together on stream, Nar. Thank you for putting that one in the back of my brain. Reap is a hack of Rune by Gila RPGs. In it, you are a lone necromancer wandering a cursed world that straddles the line between the living and the dead. As a necromancer, you hold an important role in this world, and many fear you. Not everyone, though, and those are who you seek. All right, so we're getting an idea already. So we are a necromancer. We knew that, but you know, we sort of have a specific role in this world. That's not necessarily evil, although people might still think we are. So you know, there's that. Trying these rules. The best way to try these rules is with a simple realm. The example realm, I should say, Kyrie, included with the Quick Start. It is designed to include many of the core concepts of Reap and will give you a feel for what the game is about, including exploration and combat. So, if you've watched our Rune playthrough before, you'll know that this game, if it's built out of like the bones of Rune, Nar says, I'll send you the drive-thru RPG link. Oh, to Lichdom? Yes, please do. And also, Nar, I just realized I never responded, but I will to your other Discord message about your solo superhero game. I loved what you wrote. I loved the idea of, like, teleporting punches. That was a very fun concept. So I definitely want to hear more about that in the Disco. But yes, please send me the link for Lichdom. Okay, and so, let's see here. Yes, after they're done developing Reap, you can follow the campaign on the Kickstarter, which I've talked about, which is in the chat, so there you go. The Rune hack. As a Rune hack, Reap works with many of the same assumptions. It is a solo TTRPG. It is a combination of exploration and tactical grid, Souls-like vibe, character made of a collection of equipment rather than stats. Okay, so that's one thing I was going to say, and then I got off sidetracked. Although it's a solo RPG, what Rune and I'm assuming Reap really excels at is like the gamified elements. It isn't so much like, there is obviously a story and you can generate a narrative in your mind as you go, but it is more so about how the game plays, because it is very tactical and there are very specific systems about exploration. Nothing's really vague, right? There's a pretty decent amount of crunch, even though it plays very simply. It's more crunch than it is fluff, like some of the other solo RPGs that we've played on here. So if you like tactical combat and you like, you know, systems, then you will like this. In many ways, Reap deviates from some of the major principles of Rune. I'm going to increase the size of this text a little bit. Combat favors the player now with a refined turn order focused on allowing you to pull off incredible combinations with your weapons and your spells, which is a big difference. I mean, Rune was very much replicating Souls games in which you were not favored. You were very much in a state of torment, and you just have to figure out how to survive. So it'll be interesting to see how it kind of plays more in your direction. You can pull powerful components from the corpses of your enemies, in order to fuel your spells, taking them to the next level. We love a limit break moment. We love a power-up moment. The Vessel has been added to your exploration of realms. Attempt to attune the Vessel in a race against the realm clock so that you can reap the soul of the horror that you hunt. Okay, so I'm not sure what a Vessel is. We might have, we'll see. Maybe it'll tell us. Maybe we have to make it up. But the realm clock is something that carries over from Rune. Every realm usually has like a little timer that fills up in different ways, known as the realm clock. And depending on how far along that clock is, different effects and things will trigger and happen. Maybe for you, maybe to you, right? Now, I'm assuming when they say the horror you hunt, I'm assuming that is the big bad. I'm assuming that is, what were they in Rune? The Rune Lords or something like that? The big bads you had to steal their power. I'm assuming the boss of the area is probably the horror, which makes sense. Advancement in how you build your character has been expanded, allowing you to center builds around your powerful relic or to infuse your weapons with the souls of the horrors that you've slain. Okay, very cool. Even if you are not familiar with Rune, this packet has everything you need to learn how to play the game. Note, if you are familiar with Rune, do not skip reading these rules, which is exactly what I said before. There are changes to both exploration and combat in Reap. Fair enough. Okay. Oh, spooky necromancer. More bones. Bones in here. Bones on top of the bones. The world of Reap. You are a necromancer known as a reaper. For countless years, you have straddled the line between life and death. Your mastery of those realms is unparalleled. I can't talk. And so you wander in search of power, of course. You will navigate realms, small domains of this world, and at the heart of each domain sits a horror, a being whose soul can feed you and sustain you for just a moment longer. Interesting. So we are wanting their power, but it also kind of seems like we're vampiric in a way. Like we are kind of decaying and dying, and so our existence also is contingent upon whether or not we can continue to absorb the souls of these enemies, which does seem inherently villainous. But I guess if you're evil and if you are absorbing the souls of villains, then, you know, it's like a net zero. It's like a net positive for the world. Wander the realms, Reaper. Seek the horrors and reap their souls from them. Bind them to you and embrace immortality. You didn't have to tell me twice. Thanks. Reaper's gotta eat, says Nar. Reaper hungry. Cycle of play. When you play Reap, you will choose a realm to wander in search of souls. For the quick start, use the included realm, which I have prepared somewhat for us. We'll see in a moment. A realm is an isolated region filled with important locations called points. Points are marked on the realm map with numbers for easy reference and paths that connect them. Across these varied points, you will search, learn, fight, and face trials, all in the hopes of reaping a powerful soul from a horror. When you find and kill the horror, you may reap their soul and bind it to your equipment, empowering them with death energy. Hell yeah. Also, I remember when I read through the rules of Rune, every other sentence sounded so metal. Like, you tear the enemy asunder and engrave yourself and bind their runes to your body, and like, it was like very metal. I mean, I'm getting very similar vibes. Empower your weapons with death energy. You know, so perfect. Reap is played in two modes, exploration and combat. During exploration, you wander between points, learning about the realm. When enemies come forth to stop you, you enter combat and must bring an end to the living and undead of the realm. Okay, so we're fighting everybody. We're those who breathe and those who do not. Exploration. You begin every realm in exploration mode, and you will start in this mode until you begin a fight. Fair enough, 2 phases. Realms are explored with a point crawl system, meaning you are able to travel between points on the map so long as they are connected with a path. I'll show you this since I built this ahead of time, kinda. So this is kind of what they're referencing here. Oh, I also made some art for us to use as reference for where we're going and everything. So this is the realm of Kyrie. A foul beast has twisted the fate of this island. It holds court in the church and has spread its influence across the land. Attune the vessel so that you may reap its soul and cut its song short. So this is what they mean. This is our point crawl. So we're going to start at point 1. And then we'll have the ability to travel to any of these connected points. And, you know, once we're there, then we'll have to find another, and so on and so forth. If this is anything like Rune, once again, we'll probably find shortcuts and secrets and ways to navigate, but base kit, this is where we're at, this is where we can go. So that is the point crawl map system. When you are at a point, there are 4 possible actions that you can find. Some points have multiple actions, and in some instances, multiple instances of the same action. Interesting. Choose an action to complete at a point, and then mark that you've completed it. Unless stated otherwise, once an action is marked, it cannot be completed again. Gotcha. You may continue marking actions like this until you decide to move to a new point or until you start a fight. Okay. Fight. The rules for combat are covered later, but the fight action is one you'll find at many points, as the denizens of the realm seek to stop you from reaching the horror. Yeah, come at me. When you choose a fight action at a point, you will set up the combat grid. I've already done a little bit of that, so we'll get to that when we get there. And then switch to the combat mode. If you win combat, you mark the fight. And if you die, the action is not marked. Okay. Important, if a point has a fight action added, you must complete the fight before you can attempt any other actions at the point. So, yeah, if we go to an area and a fight's supposed to happen, I don't want to say there's an ambush per se, but we cannot avoid the fight. We have to survive the fight if we want to reap the benefits of the other parts of the point, right? So, there we go. You gotta put in the time if you want the reward. The realm holds valuable items for the enterprising reaper, and so it is in your best interest to look for them. The search action allows you to gain valuable items and resources. These might include consumables or important items required to access other points. Yep, like the key we found in the last game. Learn. The realm houses secrets underneath the surface. The story of this world is broken and scattered in pieces. The learn action allows you to begin to put those pieces back together. When you do the learn action, you are given a small piece of the story of the world. In addition, your lore score is increased. The score represents your Reaper's knowledge of the realm and can be an invaluable tool in uncovering other secrets. So, yes, this is where another bit of Souls-like influence comes in. If you're familiar with playing a Souls-like game, you know that, like, the story of the place where you're at, or even what you're experiencing or who you're fighting, isn't, like, usually expressly stated. You find it in atmospheric storytelling, you find it in item descriptions, you find it in like bestiary pages. You kind of put it together yourself and you fill in the gaps as you go. And Rune and Reap, as I'm seeing now, are very similar. We are going to learn more about the world as we are discovering it, and some of that knowledge will actually come with tangible mechanical benefits or ways that it influences or changes how we interact with the world, right? So that's part of our duty is to get our lore score up so that hopefully the game is easier on us, for us, or we unlock new abilities, things of that nature. And then delve. Occasionally, you'll be faced with a more complex or difficult task than scrounging through ruins or fighting enemies. Delves represent quests the Reaper can embark on. Sometimes they're given by other characters living in the realm. Oh, that'll be interesting. In the last game we played, there weren't too many NPCs to interact with. There were like sort of hints of characters. Like I remember there was a ferryman who would take you across the water, but there weren't like really a lot of objectives with the ferryman. Like if you had a certain item, the ferryman could do things for you, but otherwise they were just sort of like an element of the world, a set piece. So it'll be interesting to see if characters kind of occupy a different role in Reap. Delves are opportunities for great rewards. They can provide access to new weapons or spells, so obviously we're going to do all of them because we want all of those things, or even fundamentally change how the realm is shaped. Every delve has a requirement that must be met. Some requirements include lore scores, actions at other points, specific items, killing enemies, etc. Okay. So we were pretty familiar with that from Rune. Travel and recovery. You may leave a point at any time. Interesting. Anytime, like in the middle of a fight? Because that was like a very specific rule in Rune, where like if you wanted to escape, there's sort of like a system about taking damage and things like that. So we'll take a look into that as we play. Although combat does favor the player now, so maybe that's one of the boons. Note that these paths may change over time, over the course of a realm, as you uncover new opportunities, or as the forces of the realm push back to stop you. As you travel the realm, your Reaper will take damage from their many fights. While traveling between points, you may consume components to recover your health. Each component recovers 1 health. Okay, so that's automatically new. Because before, in Rune, the only way to heal, if I remember correctly, aside from having a consumable, was resting at one of the engraved marks on the ground, which is in certain zones, which were essentially your bonfires from Dark Souls. So immediately we kind of have a new healing mechanic, which is more flexible. Ooh, another spooky necromancer crawling out of a cave. Lore is an abstract representation of the Reaper's understanding of the realm. You start with the lore of 0. Whenever you start a realm, the more you uncover, and typically through the learn action, the higher that will climb. Lore scores come with benefits. We know that. Okay, we know that. Death is a temporary inconvenience for a powerful necromancer, as I might imagine. If I reach 0, I die. Makes sense. When this happens, your death energy fuels the enemies of the realm. Ooh. You resurrect at the same point as where you died, automatically different than Rune before you went back to the engraved mark, at full health and with 0 components. So you lose all of the healing items that you would have gained, okay? In addition, any fight actions that have been marked as complete or unmarked, so you have to refight, okay? As the enemies are reborn and seek vengeance against you. That's part of the Souls loop, right? The one exception to this are fights which have a unique type enemy. Enemies that are labeled unique do not resurrect upon death, and so their fight actions remain unmarked. That makes sense. Or I should say marked. The vessel. Okay, this is the thing that was brand new to me, so I'm interested to see what the vessel is. Already I'm digging this, like, skull goblet. Once again, incredibly metal. The goal of every realm is to find the horror that lurks within and kill it, allowing you to reap its soul and bind it to yourself. However, these beings are incredibly powerful, and their twisted souls are unlike everyone else that you'll face. Everyone, huh? I've heard that one before. In order to reap souls, you must attune to a vessel. Each realm has its own vessel, which you will carry with you. A vessel is a clock with a number of segments that you must mark in order to fully attune to it, okay? A vessel comes with a number of unique tasks you can complete in order to mark it. In addition, there will be opportunities within the realm to further mark the vessel. Each realm's vessel is unique, so you'll need to complete different tasks in order to attune to them as you travel from realm to realm. Okay, fair enough. If you manage to attune the vessel before facing the horror, you'll be able to reap their soul, giving you a surge in power. Ooh. For the purposes of this playtest, this element of character advancement has not been included. Dang it! So you can supercharge, but not yet. So we'll just have to survive the old-fashioned way. Realm clock. Every realm has a realm clock. The realm clock represents the realm warping and changing in an attempt to fight back against the Reaper. Every realm has a unique clock with different rules for how big it is and what marks it. Typically, a realm clock spells disaster for the Reaper. The realms may change, fights may become harder, the horror may be infused with greater power. What effects of the clock are unique to the realm. The realm clock is at odds with the vessel. It's a little push-pull, a little danger, a little dynamics. You will need to decide what you're prioritizing during play. Filling the vessel will provide you with greater rewards when killing a horror, but doing so may require you to fill the realm clock as you explore deeper into the realm. Another line that the necromancer must carefully walk along. Okay, so does that mean in this playtest there's really no reason to, for our purposes, spend extra time worrying about the vessel? Because if we can't get the bonuses for reaping... Nar says, this feature isn't implemented yet, you say. Furiously homebrews. What do you mean? It's right here. Yes, I think it says that, oh yes, if I fill the vessel, then I kick the horror's ass, I believe it says. It's bony undead butt is mine. So we're gonna pencil that into the notes. But yeah, does it mean that we really don't have to worry about the vessel if we're not getting the big bonus from it yet? Maybe we should just focus on the clock for our run. We'll see. Below you'll find an example of the realm clock used in the example realm. This is for Kyrie, and there are a series of 3 6-segment clocks that you can fill as you navigate the space, which I've also put here on our little cheat sheet to help me remember when to mark things for our realm clock. Combat. Here's where it gets fresh. Here's where it gets funky fresh, everybody. When you begin a fight at a certain point, you switch to the combat mode of play. Combat in Reap takes place on a 5x5 grid, which is right down here. Look at that. Always one step ahead. Combat in Reap takes place on a 5x5 grid. As I say one step ahead as I reread the same sentence twice. Do as I say, not as I do. When you see the word character, it refers to both Reaper and enemies. Oh, okay. Reaper has the following features. Health. The amount of harm you can take before dying. Stamina, the amount of d6 you roll to determine actions in combat. This is the same as Rune so far as I know, which means I should pull up my dice roller app. Or click on something that's not related. There we go, because I'm probably going to need it. And then equipment, a term referring to your spells, weapon, relic. Okay. Enemies. Enemies also have health. They have types. The type of enemy may be relevant to certain equipment the Reaper carries. Okay, makes sense. The range, distance the enemy will try to attack the Reaper from. It's just like before. Action sets, collections of actions the enemies will take during combat. Yeah, so that sounds like still very much like Rune, which we'll see when we get to combat, because I'm sure we will have to fight things eventually. And then Reap, the components that the Reaper can take from the enemy's corpse during combat. That's cool, and that is new. So, we kill enemies, we reap components from them, right? Which, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember from the rules earlier, components are used not only to empower our spells and abilities, but also as how we heal. So that's kind of a cool dynamic. We have to fight enemies to reap components, and then we have to choose whether or not we use the components to make us better in fights or repair if we are not doing well. Which is a nice, you know, counterbalance. A little, once again, some tension, a little push-pull. Health, harm, and block. Ooh, here's... Ooh. Oh, I dig this guy. Kind of like a twisted bishop with some eldritch horror going on at the bottom. I dig that. Health represents the amount of damage character can take during combat, essentially damage for other RPGs. Throughout a fight, characters will deal harm. The amount of harm dealt is always subtracted from health. When character reaches 0, they have died. Enemies that have died are left on the grid and counted as a difficult terrain. If the Reaper dies, the fight immediately ends. Some actions allow characters to block incoming harm. Whenever this is the case, they subtract block value from the total amount of harm that is coming their way. So that's pretty similar before. And here's an example of the 5x5 grid, which will not be our 5x5 grid, but, you know, it's a grid. Movement. When a character moves, they move to a space adjacent to their current space with the following restrictions. They can only move orthogonally. Now, this is a word that I knew existed, but did not actually really know the real word for it until I think I played Rune. I always knew that diagonally meant, you know, crosswise. I'd never thought to ever look up the word that meant only, like, up and down, which, hey, is orthogonally. Characters cannot move diagonally unless stated otherwise, so no cheating your movement. You gotta take the long way. They may enter the space of another creature, however, only 2 characters may be in the same space unless stated otherwise. So that's kind of important to know. That may be different than Rune. I kind of remember a couple fights with, like, the big boss at the end, spoilers, that summons skeletons getting, like, really piled on at towards the end of that fight with, like, 3 or 4 skeletons at a time. So maybe that's different now. Maybe because we can likely summon skeletons, they're like, nah, let's not let the skeletons do all the work. So only 2 characters in the same space. Gotcha. Oh, but that doesn't necessarily mean, now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot be outflanked and overwhelmed by enemies, because if they have a range of 1 distance, right, 1 square away, like, for example, from here to here, they can still hit you, right? So I could have, like, 2 characters here and then have 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have 5 enemies on me at the same time. I just can't have, like, 4 in my space and then another 4 on top of that. So, okay. Range and movement on the grid are measured by the number of spaces away, with 0 being the current space. Okay. Because movement is completed orthogonally, range is calculated the same way. This means that if oh, okay, interesting. This means that if something has a range of 1, it can affect everything that is left, up, down, or right. I don't know why I skipped that. But not spaces that are diagonal to the current space. Range, oh, interesting. So if it's like a range 2, which I don't know if there even is a range 2, but I guess that's not like 1, 2, right? That is like 1, 2. Or 1, 2, you know, because there's no diagonals. Interesting. Okay, good to know. We read that. Range lets you know specifically how far away a target must be for an enemy, weapon, or spell to have an effect. Enemy with 0-1 range must be able to deal harm to the Reaper if they are in the same space as them or 1 space away. A spell with a range of 2 spaces can target enemies or spaces exactly 2 spaces away. Okay. Terrain line of sight. There are 2 types of two types of terrain that can appear on the grid: permanent and difficult. Permanent terrain are large objects, walls, and other massive obstructions on the grid. No character can move through permanent terrain unless stated otherwise. Some ghosts. Some ghosts who can phase through, probably. Difficult terrain represents part of the environment that can be traversed or walked on, but doing so is precarious. Good word. When a character is on difficult terrain, they suffer -1 harm on any actions they take. So, interesting. So, it actually doesn't really impose any penalty to the movement itself, but if you end your turn on a difficult terrain space, which includes corpses, as we learned, you are more vulnerable to damage. So, interesting. And good to note in the back of my brain pan. Sometimes it is important to determine line of sight. If a character is using a ranged action against another, yes, okay, I can see that. Permanent terrain blocks line of sight, but characters do not. If a line can be drawn from one corner of a character space to a corner of their target space without going through or along permanent terrain, they have line of sight. Simple, love it. Love it, need it. I was gonna say the urge to herbal essence, but that's just me rattling off a deep core memory. Rounds of combat. Course of rounds. Each round is made up of 5 steps as the characters move around the grid and try to kill each other. So this is, I'm hoping, as I'm reading, it's going to be similar to Rune. I really like the system of Rune because it did a really great job of replicating Souls-like gameplay on a grid or in a RPG. Because essentially, like in Souls games where you kind of learn the enemy's attack patterns as you go, in Rune, you got to roll for the enemies and understand what actions they were going to take ahead of time, before your action takes place. So you get to choose where you're going before the enemies finalize their stuff. So it's kind of like you're watching them telegraph their attacks, right? Sometimes, depending on what you roll, you just had to suffer through things. It didn't make you impervious to everything, but it did make you kind of assess the risk, the reward, the possibility of your actions against theirs very well, which I did like. Nar says, you weren't kidding when you said this was crunchy, LOL. Yes, this is very much like a combat simulator, like a fantasy combat simulator with some exploration elements, right? I would not say if you want to play a game that has a lot of like narrative role-playing or like a lot of like social interaction role-playing, this is probably a little different. But if you want, crunch and fights and options like that, then this is very much your speed. Oh, Gila RPG's in the chat. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Gila. You like some chew to your games? Yeah, exactly. Gonna some chew and some crunch. So I don't know what's in your mouth, but it seems like it's a hard thing to swallow with chew and crunch going on. A fight takes place over the course of rounds. Okay, so we knew that much. Also, thank you for being here, Gila. Watching us. Gila's probably watching and is like, thanks for playing Bones. Bones or whatever. Yeah, your teeth, right? Or are teeth not bones? Or are somebody else's teeth in your mouth? So somebody else's bones are crunching on your bones. The bones are their money, as a very wise man said, and so are the worms. But thank you, Gila, for being here. I love that you're here watching me explain the rules to your game. You're probably like listening to me like, he's gonna get this so wrong. There's a lot of calcium going on. Yeah, you gotta keep them bones strong. And the strongest way to make sure that your bones are stronger than all the other bones is to eat the bones of others. It's basic bone math. 1 bone plus 2 bone, 3 bone. All right, move enemies and non-harm actions. No, this is honestly awesome to see as a designer, seeing how people parse the rules. Okay, well then, I'm hopefully you're furiously scribbling everything that I'm getting right and wrong, and then you'll be able to hit me with it later. Bones plus bones equals better bones. Listen, I don't make the rules. I don't make the bones. I just live them, you know? Or in this case, for a necromancer, we die by the bone. We live by the bone. We die by the bone. Bad to the bone. Ba-na-na-na-na. Every enemy that has a move as part of their actions from step 1 will now move. You choose the order in terms of which the enemies will move first. The direction enemy moves is based on the range they attack from. Oh, this I think is different. Okay, so if an enemy's range includes 0 or 1, they will always try to move close. So that's the same, but this part I think is a little different. If an enemy's range is 2 or more spaces away, they will always try to move the furthest range away possible, which does make sense. So they kind of kite you. They kind of like move back, which I'm sure will be very annoying for us. But it makes sense strategically. After moving, if an enemy has any actions that do not involve dealing harm, they will complete them now. Okay. Oh, right, because harm goes last. So they can summon, they can lay traps, they can do all the things that will make our life difficult, but they can't actually try to harm our life until the end of the round, or closer to the end of the round. Then we determine our Reaper actions. Roll a d6 for each stamina that your Reaper has. For this playtest, that will always be 2d6. So we have 2 stamina, which I think is the same it was in Rune. Stamina dice are now assigned to your weapons and spells, determining the movement, harm, and other effects you will complete in the round. When you assign a dice to weapon or spell, it will grant you actions. Yes, this is just like Rune so far. You can include movement, blocking, and dealing harm or other effects. After assigning die, fully resolve all of the actions before resolving any other dice you've rolled. I'm going to read that again because I feel like my brain stopped braining. These can include blocking and dealing harm or other effects. After assigning a die, fully resolve all those actions before resolving. Okay, yes. Repeat this for each stamina die until you've resolved them all. This is a major departure from Rune. In Rune, where you would determine actions in the step that deal harm with the enemy in step 5, that is no longer the case. Okay, that's why my brain was like not computing here, because this is different. In Reap, you determine and resolve all of your actions in whatever order you'd like before the enemy can react. So that is actually very different, and this is probably a large reason as to why earlier in the rules we heard that this game favors the player, because before, if you were dealing 3 harm but they were dealing 3 harm, you were dealing that 3 harm to each other simultaneously if you were within range of it, right? So you could double KO, right? Which I think we did once. Gila says exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I fought the knight, the dark knight in the realm, through the opening Rune realm, I'm pretty sure we double KO'd each other our first fight. But this is, we expressly get to resolve all of our stuff in whatever order, so that's fun, because who doesn't like to get to act first? Who doesn't like having higher initiative? Stamina may be added together to be used on a single weapon. Oh, yes! I remember this, and I liked this system a lot because it saved my ass a bunch. So basically, to describe a little bit of what this looks like for some of the players, let me pull up my dice roller. So basically, you're going to see as we play, every time, once we get our equipment and our spells chosen, you're going to see that there are certain things assigned to the dice, right? Actually, let me see if I can pull up an example. I don't want to go too far from where I'm at. So where am I at? I'm on page 18. Oh, actually, it's in a whole different document. So I can just pull that up here. So, okay, here's a perfect example. So if we take a look at this scythe, you can see there are values assigned to die rolls, right? So if we roll a 2 or a 3 on a dice, we can move 1 space on the grid and deal 1 damage. If we roll 4 and 5, we can move 1 harm 2, etc., etc. Basically, we're going to have multiple items, and I presume spells attached to us at one time. So we always roll 2 dice. So let's say, for example, we're going to say I have Scythe and Summon Skeleton because they're right on top of each other. And honestly, I'm definitely going to take Summon Skeleton because why would you not? You're a necromancer. So I'm going to roll my 2 dice because I have 2 stamina, as the game tells us. So bop, bop. So I got a 5 and a 6. So that's actually a really good roll, and I'm upset that I wasted it in the explanation phase of the game. But basically, I can choose as the player, okay, a 6 does this on a scythe, but a 6 does this on summon skeleton. So, what do I want to assign to what? Do I want to use the 5 here and the 6 here, or vice versa, to choose what effects that I get, right? Now, in this example, a 5 and a 6 is the exact same on summon skeleton, so it doesn't really matter which one that I choose to put there. But you see on the scythe, it's actually very different. I get either a move 1, harm 2, or a move 2, harm 2. So it would probably behoove me to assign my 6 here so I get the biggest benefit out of my turn, right? Nar says explanation. You mean you were just pre-rolling your first roll, right? Yes, Nar. Thank you for reminding me of that very special and specific rule that I get to keep whatever I roll in my explanation phase. Okay. The game designer officially said I get to bank it, so who am I to argue with fate? Game designer allows it. Okay, first official rolls 5 and 6. Thank you, Gil RPGs. But the thing I was saying about before, the bundling of dice can also be beneficial because let's say, for example, I would roll a 3 and a 3, which, you know, could be useful. Like I could get a move 1, harm 1 on a 3 scythe here, but I actually get nothing for a 3 on summon skeleton, right? So it doesn't do anything, right? A 3 is essentially wasted. I could choose to bundle the 3s together to make a 6, and then I could use that 6 and like cash that in on one of my items or spells that has a 6 payoff, right? So the bundling is cool. Bundling helps. I don't think bundling is the official term, but that's, you know, a bundle of bones. I'm adopting it. So that's kind of how that works, and we'll see more of that obviously when we get into fights. So, but I always liked that addition, so I'm glad it's still here. Nar says the official stamp of approval. I couldn't ask for more, really. I'm happy with that. Alright, so stamina dice may be added together. Yes, we just described that. In addition to stamina dice, you may use your collection of components, blood, body, and bone. Oh, the 3 Bs, the triple Bs. Actually, when I was growing up, there was a petting zoo and ice cream parlor called Triple B Farms that I used to go to a lot. So now I'm thinking Triple B Farms is just the bone, body, and blood farm, which don't send your kids to the Triple B Farms. They are gonna have a good time. Each relic has its each spell, okay, has its own way of interacting with components. Your relic has a number of effects that you can gain from spending components as well. Okay, so stamina is a resource, and so are components, which we learned we get from enemies, and now we know what they are. They're blood, body, and bone, which makes 100% sense for a necromancer. Okay, I dig that. I dig that there's more stuff to interact with. There's more things to manipulate. I'm excited to see how it bites me in the ass eventually, but it's cool. You can only use a weapon or spell once per round. Oh, that is something I forgot to mention. Then that is important because in that example I gave where I was like, oh, what if I rolled 2 3s, right? Even though the scythe has a 3 option, I can't assign both 3s to the scythe. I can't get the scythe effect twice. I can't like dual wield my scythe. I have to only get one effect per die per weapon that I use unless I stick them together. So that's the same. Deal enemy harm if... I just said if, and there's no such word at that beginning of that sentence. The enemies deal harm to you if they are able. Add up all the incoming harm and then reduce it from your health. Yep, that's how you die. And then if you have any block generated from step 4, it reduces the amount of total harm. Yep. And then reap. If there are any dead... This is the new... It's the name of the game, so it's got to be new. Oh. I wasn't even looking at this guy. Oh, that was the perfect scroll. Like, I'm like looking at this picture in the corner, and I'm like, oh, that's creepy. Like, cool little orb. That's fun. Let me scroll down. Oh, the orb's still going. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's so metal. Oh, God, I love it. Nar says I really like the artwork. Yeah, gorgeous. If you like the artwork in this, like I said, you'll like the artwork in Rune, too. It just has a different... Rune is more like, you know, sorrowful knights and warriors, and this is very much like specters and spirits and grim things. That was a perfect scroll down. If there are any dead enemies in your space or any spaces at range 1 from you. Okay. You may reap them for components. Enemy cards determine what components can be reaped. Oh, here we go. Inventory management. The thing I'm so good at. And then after step 5, a new round begins, repeating the process until the Reaper or all of their enemies are dead, or undead. Or re-dead, as Zelda would say. It's spookin' time. So I'm hearing that in, with the Thing's voice. It's clobbering time. It's spookin' time. Equipment. Equipment is the catch-all term for weapons, spells, and relics. All the fun stuff that the Reaper carries with them into combat. There's no limit to the amount of equipment the Reaper can carry, the infinite item glitch here. But there is a limit to what can be equipped during combat. You may switch which equipment you have equipped whenever you are in the exploration mode. Makes sense. When you're in combat, you cannot switch. We've got to just deal with it. Reaper can have one weapon equipped during combat. Oh, one weapon. Weapons have a type, such as sword, dagger, which may be relevant alongside other equipment or particular enemies. Okay, keywords. Yay, unlimited inventory space. You just keep buying the bag that you put in another bag, that you put into another bag. But don't put a bag of holding into another bag of holding. As long as they're regular bags, it's fine. This is World of Warcraft rules. You can just keep buying more backpacks. But once you get, like, the bag of holding, don't do that. I hate having to drop stuff in RPGs. Yeah, don't drop your stuff in Reap. Instead, just eat it. Got too many bones? Just eat them. Your pack just swimming with blood? Just drink it, baby. Got some extra bodies in there? You guessed it. Chomp down. That's why we have infinite inventory space. During combat, you can use your weapon by assigning when you rolled stamina dice. Okay, so we talked about that. Like enemies, most weapons have a range they must be used. Oh, thank you for following, Gila. Oh, I appreciate you. You have, speaking of metal, you have made the guitar solos wail. So thank you so much. Oh, the designer of the game, following our stream, watching it live. My heart, it is a pitter patter. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. And you're subbed with Prime? Oh, you are reaping my soul right now. Look, it's escaping from me. As you've just stunned me with your generosity. Thank you. Thank you, Gila. I appreciate you so much. It's so cool to have you here. And we haven't even tried to die yet, so thank you. The Reaper spells. Here we go. This is why we showed up. We had some spells in Rune. I think we eventually got the Drain spell by the end, but most of the time we were sword and boarding it. But here we are. We want some enchants. We want some curses and hexes and all the fun stuff. Reaper can have 2 spells. Oh, okay, so I'm going to make a note of that right now because they're already giving me numbers, which I've kind of been half paying attention to. So, we have 1 weapon. We have 2 spells. Currently 3 total things we can have equipped. Maybe more. Spells have 1 major difference from weapons in that they can be infused with components. Infused with components. Just, the word choices. During combat, you may spend any components you have to activate various effects on spells. There are a wide range of possible effects components can grant depending on the spell. Some possible effects include enhancing, harm or range, adding new effects, making it easier to activate. Oh, that's cool. Like you cheat the die roll. Oh, that's cool. Because there were definitely some moments in the Rune playthrough where it's like, if I would have just rolled 1 higher or lower, it would have changed my life. That's cool. Or creating entirely new effect for spells. Okay. Relics. And this is new too. The Reaper can have 1 relic equipped during combat. Oh, okay. Once again, numbers, right? Do you like how I'm using my face to click my pen because I'm holding my water jealously? The Reaper can have 1 relic equipped during combat. So 1 weapon, 1 relic, 2 spells, 4 things. Got it. Is the core part of your build. Oh, the relic is the core part of your build. So this is okay. So okay. I think. Oh, dang it. What were they called in Rune? Were they just the runes? There were specific symbols that you carved into yourself, which were like your primary abilities. Some were active, some were passive. This kind of feels like that. They're kind of like the core of your person that you build around, right? Which is fun. Can provide incredible bonuses to the Reaper. Relics are not activated in combat by assigning dice like weapons and spells, but are instead, yep, this is the rune equivalent, says Gila, and you pump components into it. Dang, okay, cool. I like this component thing. I haven't played, I've literally not seen it in action yet, but I like having a resource to play with. You know, I like having something beyond the dice to kind of help control my fate a little bit. So a relic could be a bone build, focusing on helping you with bone-based spells. Oh, okay. So each relic, well, I mean, I'm assuming in the playtest, we'll see if there's multiple relics, but yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, each relic maybe will have, like, a different focus, or like, I dig that. Ooh, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a bone boy? Do I want to be a blood boy? Do I want to be a body boy? A body boy has a lot of implications. I think bone, I mean, well, maybe blood boy. Bloodborne, blood boy. There's no limit to the amount of times you can activate the relic during a round, so long as you have components to spend. Okay, so yeah, we definitely pump them. Components are blood, body, and bone that you reap from enemies as you kill in combat. Oh, is there a summoner / minion build, says Nar. Oh, is that what you want to see? With the eyeballs, Nar? Because if so, I mean, that's what we can build. We haven't gotten to building our character yet, but I am definitely down for, like, doing the summoning build. Gila says there will be, not in the playtest, okay, but definitely will be supported in the full game. That's cool that we can have different builds, too. I dig that. I mean, we already saw there's definitely a summon skeleton spell, so there will be the option to do, like, a summon ability, but to focus in it will be fun as well. So we can carry, oh, okay, that's another number thing I should write down. We can only carry a maximum of 3 component types. So total 9 components divided over 3 categories. So 3 blood, 3 bone, 3 body. So 3, 3, 3, 9 total. Okay. I love having me some minions. Don't we all? For some reason, I'm thinking of, like, you know, the minions, but, like, spooky. Like, undead. Has that been done? That's been done somewhere. It's the internet. It exists. This allows you to reap enemies in fights to collect components and save them for a more dangerous fight elsewhere. Fair enough. Components are collected when you reap enemies at the end of every combat round. Okay, every combat round, if there are spaces 0 or 1, if I'm not mistaken from before. There are some weapons and spells that allow you to reap components in other situations as well. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna steal your bones from far away. Give me them bones. My main necromancer inspiration is Diablo 2 having all the summons. Hell yeah. Oh yeah, that's what we want. I just want to go AFK. I want to go AFK playing Reap and let the skeletons handle it for me. I'll be back in a moment. Ooh, and look at this. Play. We're getting there. We're getting to the play section. Are you ready to try out Reap? I gosh dang hope so. With what I've learned. Check out the example realm Kyrie included in the Quickstart, which I have. It includes both exploration and combat opportunities. If you're looking to see the new combat experiences, now we want the whole thing. We're gonna do just like we did Rune. We're going to start at the beginning of the realm, and we'll play the realm through to the end. You know what, Gila, I'm wondering, too, I mean, you don't have to answer this right now, but, I mean, because Rune and Reap are so mechanically similar, is there any hope of having some cross-compatibility? Could I take my Reaper to the Grim Coast? That'd be fun. That'd be very cool to be able to, because then you're going to, because I'm pretty sure people have already made realms for Rune and stuff, right? It'd be cool if there was, I'm hoping to find ways to make that happen. Yeah, I mean, your community's already built some stuff out for Rune. I was actually toying with the idea of building a realm too after I got the little guide. So that'd be cool to, like, because you could double up all of your stuff. And then feedback, the Gila RPG's Discord server, as a little plug. I'm pretty sure I'm already a member there too, so I'm sure I'll be seeing you there. Oh, look at this guy. He's very academic. There's more Reap coming. Yes, once again, Kickstarter link. Could be a cool co-op way to summon a Reaper to your Rune session. Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be, I wonder how that would affect boss fights and stuff. Oh, that'd be cool. You'd probably, like the summoning stones in Souls games. Like, you'd have to, like, maybe have a resource to do it. That'd be fun. But yes, Reaper's coming to Kickstarter, which I have linked in the chat. So please take a look at the Kickstarter page. You can notify yourself for when it goes live. As well as just, follow Gila on Twitter, because Gila's always posting about all their games, but also Reap. So I'm sure you'll hear about it there. And then, yes, character advancement, empowering weapons, tons of new weapon spells and relics, starting builds. Oh, yeah, starting builds you can use to find your favorite playstyle, a.k.a. bones, minions, a suite of new realms and horrors to hunt, more lore and unique realms for each Rune world. Okay, change the way play. So, we have just hit all the Quickstart rules. We have that done, which is awesome. So we have a pretty good idea of how to play now. It's very similar so far from what I'm reading to Rune, but with a pretty big variant in terms of the combat resolution and the vessel, which we will see how that plays out. Because the vessel's new to me, and it will be new to you as well. But that's cool. Okay, so quick start rules are in. Let's take a look at the resources and the realm. Okay. And I'm going to go all the way to the top. I also made this little cheat sheet here for us, so you can see my little my little created art of Kyrie here with the spooky church, which has been corrupted by this fiendish beast, and cut its song short. Interesting. So I kind of like the idea that maybe there's a deathly choir that is ringing throughout the valley, throughout the wood, that is echoing from deep inside the church. A haunting melody that echoes throughout the land. Starting character. As part of the playtest, you will need to create your character for the realm. The Reap Resources PDF includes equipment to choose from, enemy cards, and a combat grid. Your character starts with... Let me open up my other notes. I'm actually using the same... Music might need to be restarted, a little staticky. Thank you for that. Yeah, tabletop audio does that to me sometimes. I don't know why. I don't know why it does that. Let's see, maybe if we play something a little different. Sometimes I feel like the tracks too, some are like crunchier than others. We'll go back to this one, if it wasn't giving us problems before. Hold, please. One of these days, I'll have the money to pay for like an outright fantasy music system, but for now. Okay. Let me know if that is a little more palatable. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. Perfect. Performance mode. Sounds good so far. Okay, good. Just keep me posted. Alright, so this is Kyrie. This is our realm. And also generated a little art for our necromancer. Or should I say, our Reaper. So we have 10 HP, we have 2 stamina, and we have 0 lore right now because our brain is empty. Head empty, no thoughts, just bones. But, yes, look at us. We are a mysterious and... Can we make the window bigger? Oh, we should be able to. Whoop. Whoop. Is that good? There we go. So we are a mysterious figure. We are a dark and stormy creature. The necromancer. Perfect. So, we got our 10 HP. We got our 2 staminas. I'll make this a little bigger too, since I made that art so big. Oh, I'm probably gonna have to like break the text here. There we go. We got our 10 HP, our 2 staminas, and our 0 lore. And we start off at point 1. For the purposes of this playtest, there is only one. Oh, I'll make this bigger too. Bop, bop, bop. There's only 1 weapon and 1 relic, so you will use those, and then you may choose which 2 spells you'd like from the 6 included. Okay. The vessel of this realm requires 6 marks in order for you to be fully attuned. You may mark the vessel when you, and I think I have this marked on my, oh. Yeah, right here. Win a fight, learn the horror's name, reach 2+ lore, okay, or have 5+ components carried, okay. Excuse me again, I don't know why those waters make me burp. The realm has 3 realm clocks, each 6 segments. Whenever you move to a point, I think I have this marked here too, right? Move between point, complete an action. Yes, mark a section of the clock. When a clock is filled, read its effects on the realm. So we'll have to reference this when that happens. I don't want to look at it now because I don't want to ruin it for myself. But we will have to come back here when something happens, when we fill a clock. But I guess is the first thing. So point 1, can I take my little necromancer? And can I make him a little token? Just a little guy. Just a little guy. Look at him go. There he is. He's at point 1. Perfect. Actually, could I even? I was gonna try to put him in like a little circle, but maybe that's too much for now. I'll keep him in his little box. My little Reaper, my little boy, my sweet boy. Anchor. As you step through the veil, anchoring yourself to this realm, you find a stone obelisk sitting before you. A powerful source of life and death energy haunts this island. Your hunt starts now. Alright, so we're point 1 in Kyrie, which is right here. And we only have 1 action to fulfill, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna search. The corpse of one of the residents of this land. Oh, I should have grabbed popcorn. You know how it goes here, Nar. We're gonna put on some voices. We're gonna make some sound effects. We're gonna keep it entertaining, as we oft try to do. The corpse of one of the residents of this land leans against the altar. They won't be needing their parts, so you salvage what you can. Before we even do that, you know what we should do, which I just completely blew past. We need to actually make our build. We need to pick our stuff. So let's go here. So we know for a fact that we need to take. Can I? Oh yeah, perfect. Look at this. I'm just gonna. Also, I'm doing this in Microsoft. Not Microsoft Word, we call this Pages. I'm doing this in Pages because I'm on a Mac. Because I'm a... Oh, never mind. I'm not doing that there. Because I just broke everything. Add page. Oh no. I really am breaking everything. Alright, never mind. We won't add a page. Yeah, character creation is probably an important thing to do. We'll just do it in our other notes, because I don't have a very... Oh, I already have an inventory thing. Perfect. Let's go here. Let's go here. So we know for a fact that we're getting the scythe, because that is the default weapon for the realm right here. So we're going to make a little note of that. And we'll put that on our homepage, and we'll fix it later. And we also know that we get the Neophyte's Tome for free, because that's the only relic. So now we get our choice of spells. Oh, and these are probably the enemies that we'll fight, so we'll save those for later. So what do we got? We got Summon Skeleton. I feel like Summon Skeleton's probably a given. But, you know, we'll read through the rest. Okay, I'm so excited. I'm skipping. Number 1, so we have a scythe. It is a blade weapon of range 1. So this is a melee weapon. So we are a necromancer, but we are a melee necromancer. We can move, we can harm. We have the ability Reave. Immediately reap any enemies killed with the scythe. These components may be used with the spell you are currently casting. Ah! So we don't have to wait till the end of a round to reap with a scythe. We just... and then get it. Which is cool, and we can immediately spend those resources. So I can already see that's going to be a fun tool. And the Neophyte's Tome. Ah, here's our resources. Bones, body, and blood. So we can, as long as we have the resource, spend as many as we want, if I remember correctly, as long as we have them in our inventory, to do these actions. So we get free moves, we get free blocks, we get free heals. What? That's pretty sick. So these are actually very defensive options. Moving, blocking, healing. This is a very, this is a survival-focused object, which is good. Summon Skeleton. So Summon Skeleton, obviously we will summon a skeletal minion. Every round, they can move 1, harm 1, and they have 2 health. And then we can give them more health, or we can give them more health or damage with bones or body parts. That's fun. But it only triggers on a 4 through a 6. So less than half of the time will we be able to summon a skeleton. So that's something, I mean, we're going to take it. You know, Narcissus summon skeletons so we can have minions, of course. We're going to take it, but it's a good thing to note. It's kind of a rarer trigger, which I guess makes sense. Having minions is a decent boon. Spectral Step. Move up to 3 spaces. Every enemy whose space you move into is haunted, a status condition. And then we can actually spend a body part as long as we roll a 1 to move to any space. We get a teleport? Oh, I dig that. Turn it to like a little phantasmal form, a little spectral, you know, veil and teleport around. That's cool. Haunted. Enemy takes +1 harm this round, and next round they cannot move. That's brutal. I mean, Spectral Step sounds kind of sick. I'm not going to lie, that may be the get. But I mean, I just read the first 2, so maybe I should keep reading, but that's cool. Spikes, a ranged spell. So we're just shooting bones. We're going bone spurs at people. Spurs or spears, or both. A little bone shuriken. Okay, cool. A ranged damage option is never a bad thing in a game like this with tactical grid combat. It'd be interesting to see what other weapons we get in the future. I wonder if there's a world where we have a ranged base weapon, you know, as opposed to having only a melee weapon. Because I could see a world where spikes becomes like a weapon. But we won't do any homebrewing yet. We will stick with Scythe as tier 1. And then Leech. Deal harm equal to drain and then heal that much. Okay, so that's very similar to the drain spell from Rune. So we deal damage, we get health. Range 2 or 3, though. That's also a ranged spell. And that's the same range as Spikes. Oh, but Leech is a little harder to trigger because you need at least a 3 or higher, whereas you have a 2 or higher. So this is a bit more consistent, even though the range is similar. Okay. Still feel like this is probably the better get, considering it heals you. But what do I know? But interesting. I believe that range was much shorter in Rune. Terror. All enemies within range. All enemies within range. Oh, range 1. Range. Okay, so everyone around us. Deal 0 harm. So we frighten them into not attacking. That's pretty awesome. And then we can spend body parts to increase our range. Fun. And then explode corpse. That was that was my nickname in college. Explode corpse. Spell range any. Wow, that's cool. So entire combat field.
choose a corpse. It explodes. I like imagining that as like the tool tip. Like if I was playing like an MMO, it's like, what does explode corpse do? Hovers over icon. Choose a corpse. It explodes. Dealing 2 damage to all adjacent enemies. Remove corpse afterward. Ah, interesting. So we explode corpses, which is an any range AoE spell, which we can actually heal from, but flip side, we remove the corpse, so we cannot reap them for components. So that is actually a pretty expensive spell, because we essentially remove resources for us to gain later. Interesting. It's kind of like a big effect, because it can damage, it has any range, it has heal, but you are kind of sacrificing what you could use later on. The corpse giveth and the corpse taketh away. Listen, we're the necromancer. The corpse should giveth. The corpse should giveth. Okay, so Nar, I feel, is of the mindset, is pretty outspoken, that we should definitely have summon skeleton, and I am not opposed to this. So let's grab our inventory. Let's say we got Scythe, we got the Neophyte's Tome. There we go. So we have our Necronomicon, essentially, and we have our Neophyte's Tome. Hey, move when I command you. So now that means we just have to pick our spell. So obviously we're getting Summon Skeleton. Summon Skeleton. Oui, Summon Skeleton. I never use Corpse Explosion in Diablo because that's always a potential minion. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, actually, interesting. Let me take a look at Summon Skeleton. Does us exploding corpses make summoning skellies harder? Do I need summon a skeleton in an empty adjacent space? Okay, so no. So skeletons are spectral. The world is full of skeletons. No need for a corpse. Not only do we have the infinite backpack glitch, we have the infinite skeleton glitch. So it sounds like we picked the right cheat codes for this run. So we got summon skeleton. So with that in mind, what do we want for our last spell? Corpse Explosion is incredibly metal. And I do like the survivability and the range of Leech. I do dig that. Although that, we are kind of, our build, because there's only one weapon type so far, which is melee, right? Range 1. Having the option to be able to spectral step away from combat or into combat, right? Is kind of cool. Like, we can definitely burn a body point, and actually, now that I'm looking at spectral step, body and 1, so it's not 1 up, it is body and 1. So I have to roll a 1 to be able to move to any space. Still, 3 to 5 is still a pretty decent chance of spectral stepping. Nar says, does Leech heal you or something? Yes, Leech does. So the way that Leech is written, you deal harm to the enemy, right? So drain, deal harm equal to drain. So there's drain 2 or drain 3. And then we heal that much. So there's a kind of a few keywords there, but harm equals drain, and then drain equals health, right? So that's cool. My gut instinct right now is either Leech or Spectral Step. So it's either I'm banking on going full melee and being able to dart in and out of melee, or I'm banking on having the flexibility of having a melee and a ranged, right? Narcissus sounds pretty useful. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I benefited from some some drain spells in the Rune playthrough. Either sucky or jumpy. Yes, the the only two default modes for any game are sucky and jumpy. That's tough. Actually, you know what? I know what we're gonna do. We're also able to switch our equipment between travel points, just so we know. Oh, but we don't start. Oh, I'm gonna have to find them out there. Because we don't have them to start. We have to find the other stuff. Tricky. Okay, so I actually went ahead and bought this. I don't even know if you can even see it. Yeah, I don't even see it. I bought this little coin. It's like too bright with my light. One side says yes, with like a little esoteric symbol on it. And the other side says no. It's this little decider coin. Let's leave it to fate, you know? Necromancers leave will leave their destiny in the hands of fate and life and death. Why don't we do it? And actually, the one side does have a very spooky necromancer symbol on it. It's like a winged skeleton. All right, so let's say winged skeleton is spectral step, because that makes sense. And then the two hands with the eyeball on it is drain. Here we go. We're going spectral step. We're going all in. We're going all in on running around. Oh, accidentally did a full screenshot, which is too confusing for my brain. So let's do this. Meanwhile, Necromancer's literally defying ultimate fate that is debt. It's like, you know, it's kind of like debt. It's like I'll pay a little fate up front for the long-term ramifications of my fate, right? Just, I can have a little bit of fate as a treat. There we go. So this is our build. We got the Scythe, we got the Neophyte's Tome, we got Summon Skeleton, and that's the only way I can say it. Contractually, if you read in the rules, and Gila will attest to this, the only way that you can say Summon Skeleton is like with a fake bad French accent, is Summon Skeleton. So there we go. Can confirm. Necromancer's just getting ahead of their own down payment towards thing. Yeah, so you see, actually, you weren't paying attention to the APR on your Fate loan. It's actually a 20% increase century over century. So you took out X amount of years of Fate, but really, with interest, that's going to catch up to you. That's going to catch up to you. This is like the scene in like Indiana Jones when he's like aged like 1,000 years in the blink of an eye. It's like that you go to check your fate balance. Ooh, I'm sorry, you're overdrawn. And you just like become a skeleton instantly, which I guess for a necromancer is not the worst thing that can happen to you. All right, so what am I even looking at? Okay, this is what I want, the Kyrie realm. Since I decided to skip ahead and go right to point 1 without building my character, now we can go back. And because we have a character now, we have the Reaper. We don't have a name for our Reaper. Before, our Rune, our knight, our forlorn knight, was Johann Mutt. Does anybody have any what's the word? Suggestions for a name? Isn't that what the game Death and Taxes is about? I mean, you're not wrong. Let's take a look. What kind of vibe do I get from this guy? Ooh. I kind of want to play. We're talking a lot about time. What if we did like a pun on or something with time? We have. I'm gonna open up. Synonyms for time. We have tempo, pulse, meter, cadence. Tempo is interesting. Tempit. We can do like a tempor. Tempru? What about like Tempor? You put an R on it, it's like cooler. I'm terrible at coming up with names and have been recently asking ChatGPT. Oh, I mean, not the worst. We have been using DALL-E to give us some interesting, you know, art, little free assets. We could do a similar thing. Let's ask let's commune with fate. Let's commune with the souls of the damned. Give me a cool name for a spooky necromancer character. That's what I'm gonna say. Oh, it only gave me one. More suggestions, please. Although it's not the worst. It's really thinking. I'm probably like stressing it out. Oh, so certainly here are a few more spooky necromancer names. Oh my god, these names. Malachi Bloodbane. Lazarus Grimstone. Oh, that has to be the winner. Lazarus, and that also has to do with like time and Lazarus Grimstone. Holy hell. This guy. I mean, doesn't get much more metal than Lazarus Grimstone. Alright, so this is our necromancer, Lazarus Grimstone, the Reaper of Kyrie. And, alright, let's officially start our adventure now that we have a name. Oh, and I'll just name this Lazarus Grimstone. Okay. So, go back to our realm. Is this the realm, right? Yeah, Kyrie realm. Don't go too far. Anchor. All right, so we stepped through the anchor. We saw there was a corpse resting against the obelisk. So, as Gita let us know, there is no shortage of dead bodies around. We can use an action to search. So, let's actually... I'm gonna mark that I've done this. Choose one component to reap from the corpse. So what does we can use any component for our neophyte's tome. But bone and body is what powers summon skeleton, and body is what empowers spectral step. So I think probably the one to get for now is body, because it is used across both of our special abilities. So we'll harvest some body. So we'll say body, bone, blood. We'll make that nice and big. And because I'm a sucker for get that body, bone, and blood. So we're gonna grab that bod. So we have Lazarus. Lazarus, it says, emerges from the veil, and he does spectral step. So I imagine that, you know, Lazarus is sort of like in a liminal plane. I imagine Lazarus is in like sort of some deep meditation. And all around him are sort of like starscapes that are blasting by at a breakneck pace. And the Neophyte's Tome, which is this black leather-bound book, you know, which is inscribed with unknowable sigils and a long dead tongue, and probably clasped tightly with like black iron, and you know, embedded with bits of bone, like inlaid into like these intricate shapes across its cover, is open, but like levitating just a few inches above our laps. We're like sitting, you know, cross-legged, just sort of floating through the ether in sort of a meditative posture. And under our breath, we are chanting and intoning our dark rites, like "It solu tunare ares," you know, shoo, 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 as the pages are like flipping madly, and there are what's the word? There are like ancient symbols which are like floating in almost like a hallucinogenic an illusion, like a spectral spray in front of us, as like the tome is trying to calculate where we should land next to hunt our next horror. It's like flipping through ages of knowledge, trying to divine where our next target shall appear, when suddenly all of the symbols align almost like a target onto one specific passage, one specific name, Kyrie, you know, and our eyes flash open from underneath our mask as the entire starscape grinds to a halt, and before us a fissure opens within reality as we appear on the desolate realm of Kyrie. Boy, I'm gonna be juggling a lot of pages. But this is Kyrie right here. This sort of haunted forest, a massive church, a darkened tower standing at the center of the village, and there is apparently a haunting song, a melody which is echoing throughout the land. We manifest before the anchor, an obsidian pitch black spire, which is inscribed with many of the same symbols. I imagine that the language and the art of necromancy transcends realms as we do, and these anchors are probably the focal points from which we hop from dimension to dimension, right? They are quite literally the anchors of like the necromancers bound between different realities. And we appear, interesting, because one of the corpses is pressed against the obelisk. Perhaps this was like an acolyte of one of these necromantic orders that was like desperately trying to escape, trying to activate the obelisk, but it was too late. As we approach, the graying husk of the corpse desperately pressed against the obsidian stone, we reach into the folds of our dark cloak and unveil the handheld sickle. We turn it in our hands a few times as we study the form.
I am sorry, friend, but I'll be needing these more than you now.
As we and we begin to carve and slice our way through the dry, desiccated flesh, as we hack off a few chunks of rotten meat for us later, in case we get hungry, in case we want a snack, or in case we need to increase our power through a dark rite. So yes, we will chop up that unfortunate soul. And I like to imagine we probably have like a component pouch, you know, like a big long satchel around our waist. Could be, once again, our infinite backpack. Maybe it is like a whatchamacallit, a bag of holding. We open it up and you can see that same like infinite starscape, you know, within its top, as we slip the flank of graying flesh inside of the top of the bag as it disappears in a puff of smoke as we claim our first component. We got some body. So this is all we can do at Anchor Point 1, which means we have to decide where we're going. So if we reference our map, we can choose 2, 5, or 6. Now I'm going to try to be very quick and not cheat to see the effects of these places, but 2 is the town, 5 is... Oh, I skipped 5. 5 is the forest, and I said 6, right? 6. Yes, that's the horror, if I saw this correctly. Well, knowing us... Oh, no, 6 is the church. I saw the horror somewhere. Okay, so the town, the forest, or the church? The church is where I'm hearing the music coming from, the haunting melody, right? So there's a part of Lazarus. You know, I think Lazarus has questions. Lazarus has appeared here, has appeared at the anchor, and one of his fellow acolytes, his devotees of the dark arts, has been claimed by some mysterious force. And the only, I would say living, but we don't exactly know if it's alive yet. The only signs of any intelligent life is this haunting dirge, which is echoing throughout the valley. And we can see it emanates from the top of this blackened temple in the distance. So I kind of feel like that's where my curiosity is pulling me. I don't know if that's the smart route to take. Gila's probably biting their nails and and ruining my path. But I mean, if I'm gonna roleplay this role-playing game, I think Lazarus is that chosen randomly, or you get to choose? We get to choose, Nar. As long as the lines connect from the point crawl. So connected to 1.1 is 2, 5, and 6. So we do get to choose. I'm just thinking in the world that we're currently inhabiting, if Lazarus was to appear here, you know, where would the investigations begin? Maybe in the only place where we're getting any idea of action happening in the world, which would be, and probably the biggest landmark, right? If there's a town, a forest, and a church, the temple, and the way this art is depicting this temple, it's probably a dominating silhouette cutting across the countryside, you know? So this is probably very much what dominates our attention. So I think that's the way to go. Whether or not that is going to be to our benefit or against us, we shall see. But we are going to move. Lazarus. Church might be next to a cemetery. Yeah, that's going. That's in the back of Lazarus's mind.
Oh, there seems to be not enough dead people around. Could sure use some more dead folk.
Alright, so when we complete an action at a point and we move between points, we fill a part of the realm clock. So, I'm going to use these little night tokens I was using in our Rune game. So we did complete an action, and we now have moved between a point. So that is 2 ticks of our realm clock completed as we travel the long breadth of Kyrie. So, let's go back to our realm, and we are at point 6. So I'm going to try once again not to spoil myself for what I can see here. The church. Organ music blasts through the doorway as you open it. Oh, so I go right in. I'm not like snooping around. Lazarus is going straight to the source. Organ music blasts through the doorway as you open it, an unseen congregation chanting in unison. The horror you seek is within this church, if you're ready to face it. We are certainly not ready, but perhaps there are things to be learned here. So we have a search, we have a delve, we have a delve. So I'm once again trying not to cheat. Is there anything here? Okay. So one of the delves requires lore, which we do not have, so we will not read it. The other delve has no requirement, so I feel like that is the one we will take. But before we do that, we will complete a search. So, reap 1 component. An offering basket sits near the entrance. Inside are pieces of the congregation. Oh, creepy. So yes, as we're ascending these blackened staircase, this massive ceremonial like staircase rising to the plinth of the huge double doors, we can probably see there's a strange ichor, a slick spot on one of the steps, and as our eye follows it up the stone, we begin to see it thicken and widen and broaden as more of the liquid pools and congeals, as we now see it is clearly a trail of blood which has been slowly dripping stair by stair down this massive entranceway. As we now see, Nar says they must have run out of wine and bread. This place knows how to party. Hey, does anybody have any more snacks? No? Okay. Hey, Dave. I don't think you gave enough to the congregation last week, so sorry, bro. You get chopped up. We ascend the staircase and we see there is a grim offering plate. We'll say it's like a tarnished sort of bronze bowl with ancient symbols scrawled into it. And there is, of course, a bloodied bundle of cloth and strange lumps on the inside. And as we take our sickle and we cut it into the top of this parchment and sort of peel back the cloth, we begin to see the bloodied remains of... also, we can say that the cloth that we peel back are church robes. You know, they are the shawls that these priests and priestesses would wear. We peel that back, and maybe there's even like a rosary or another holy icon, you know, buried at the bottom. But regardless, they did. So now the question is begged, what do we want? We took body last time, which is still good for us. We can carry 3 of everything. I'm looking at the Grim Coast again. Bone is also good for us. Bone also allows block. I might want to go for bone, maybe? I mean, the bones are their money. And we don't have any bones. Bones gives us block, which I have no source of defending against damage right now, except for running away from it. And also, it gives the skeletons a bonus. Bone, body, and blood are the components. Yes, those are... I believe I get my option of all 3. Yeah, I can reap bone, body, or blood. And here, bone is good for 2 of our... Oh, I lied. This is what I want to look at. Bone is good for 2 of our things. Technically 3 if we count... Sorry, body's good for 3. Bone is good for 2. Blood is good for 1. I think I want to go bone. I think I want to give myself some bones. I mean, we have a skeleton spell and I got no bones, so at least from a lore perspective, we got to get us some bones. Bone sounds good, says Nar. I agree. Let's get some bones. And so Lazarus will dip his dark gloved hand. There's no hesitation. Gore is nothing to Lazarus. Being one who works in the art and the trade of viscera and the reanimation of it. Can't get better bone without having regular bone. Yes! Nar, thank you. Someone who finally gets bone math. You need to have the bad bones. You add up the bad bones into good bones, and the good bones into better bones. That'd be funny, though, a squeamish necromancer.
Oh, I don't know. There's just so much.
And so dips that gloved hand down in there, and then peels out a... You get to start out with 1 of each component. How did I miss that? Gila, thank you. I am a fool. Lazarus, really slipping up first day of the necromancer job here. Came in with not enough. Okay. Perfect. Oh, yeah, let's keep this in theme with the color palette I've chosen. Nice. We have one of each to start. Yeah, I just got like a whole corpse rattling around in that interdimensional bag. Why don't we say? Yeah, I'm gonna still say the bone. I'm a necromancer of my word. Lazarus dips that dark gloved hand down into the offering bowl, and begins to pull something out with a squelch. As a long shaft of calcified bone is risen out from the pile, dripping thick with that same crimson ichor. Maybe he carries it in a coffin on his back. Nar, I like the way you think. See, this is why you're in chat. New lore established. New headcanon established. Lazarus. Oh, I'm getting like a way different vibe for Lazarus now, because like instead of sort of like this very stately, you know, I'm kind of imagining he's like hunched, you know, because he's like bearing the weight of this coffin on his back, sort of like ambling and shambling, trying to bear the weight of that. I dig it. Yeah, we got a whole coffin on our back. It's our game. Do what we want. Alright, so that is an action. Crypt Keeper vibe, absolutely. Lazarus Grimstone, the Crypt Keeper. We have marked an action. Man, this first realm clock is filling up pretty quickly, which could be bad for us. We can't take Delve 1 because we do not have Lore 2. Once again, basic bone math, but we can do Delve 2, no equipment. The horror lurks within this church. If you would like to face the horror, you may do so. See the next page to prepare the fight. No. No, we're not going to be doing that. Because we will die. But, yeah, kill a hard pass. We did take the delve, though, to learn that information. So, I will give myself a realm clock here. I mean, maybe I would also get some lore. he says to the game designer, because I learned that's where the horror is, so maybe I'll get some lore. No, I won't cheat. I won't cheat. But okay, we will mark an action. And so, yeah, that realm clock is filling up fast. I'm a novice necromancer. So now we have to decide where we're going from here. So, at least until we have 2 lore, and this is actually, I'm actually going to make a note here in the journal. Gila says, if you want my reading of the rules, you don't mark the clock since you didn't actually do the delve. Aha, I like the way that you think, Gila. I like the way that you think, Gila. I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete it. I see your interpretation, because yes, like I can... Because I would technically, I guess, have to do it to learn it, but if I don't engage with it, then I'm not checking it. I see what you're saying. So yeah. Remind me what the clock is. That's a great question, Nar. We're going to find that out ourselves, but essentially the clock, there's a clock for each realm, right? And they're different per realm. And Gila says, it's like looking at a wall of fog before a boss fight and saying, nah, that's fair. Actually... That is very fair. I've lived that experience, so I see what you're saying, and that is very real. Yeah, that's oh my god, I'm pretty sure I've actually done this in a Souls game where like you approach the double doors and you push open the double doors only to see that on the other side of the double doors is the fog wall, and then you're like, welp. But Nar, back to your question. Each realm has a clock. Each clock is different depending on the realm. When you do certain actions, oh, I think that means this is no longer filled. When you do an action, it fills up a piece of the pie. And once that pie is completed, right, then something happens, or something changes, or the world reacts to you. We don't know what that is yet because we've not filled up a piece of the pie, or the whole pie. But essentially, it is the game playing against us, right? It is the methods by which the world is acting as Lazarus is moving around. And so we won't know what triggers until it triggers. So it's like an imminent world event. Yeah. Well, I guess I can't say for certain, because I specifically don't know how this realm clock works. The realm clocks in Rune, some were very different. Some were like events that happened. Some changed like night and day cycle, and different things happened in night and day. It was just depend like on how it was written. But something will change, and or something will happen once we have that entire pie in front of us. And right now, we've eaten half the pie. We've eaten half of that spooky pie. So we're going to find out. But we're not yet. And so I was back to my journal. So I'm going to make a note. So in my journal, I wrote journal under journal. The church. I'm going to make a note for myself in maximum font size for the readers at home. Do not return here unless we have 2 or higher lore. Because this place will essentially be useless to us until we have 2 lore. Or I should say in parentheses, or we want to fight the horror. Which will probably not be for a while. Nar also says, and it starts half full by default insult injury. Does it reset when full and something happens? So, it does not start half. I've actually been filling it kind of offhandedly, so I should be more express about that. But you can see right here under where, hopefully you can see that. I'll make it 200%. There we go. So where it says the realm sheet, you can see clock 1, clock 2, clock 3. It then states, mark realm clock when moving between points and completing actions at points, right? So at point 1, we harvested the body. So that's a realm point, a clock point. Then we moved between realms to get to the church. So that is a clock point. And then we harvested the bodies at the foot of the church, which was another clock point. And then, like Gila had mentioned, I had marked a 4th point because I thought that interacting with the delve was enough to mark the point, but because we did not actually commit to it, we do not mark it. So we do not have 4, we have 3. And that is the realm clock. In a nutshell. Does it reset to full when something happens? That I don't know yet. I think we're going to learn as we progress through the realm. If I were a betting man, I would say they probably don't reset. I would say this fills up, effect takes place. This fills up, event takes place. This fills up, event takes place. And maybe all of these effects are now like permanently going on in the world, right? But at the same time, I'm just making this up right now because I've tried not to look ahead. Maybe they reset. But for now, as far as we are concerned, it just fills and bad things happen. Presumably. But that's okay because we're the best necromancer in the world and nothing bad is ever going to happen to us. Our bones are just going to get so strong. We got the best bones. And so now we can actually choose, oh boy. Now we can actually go back to 1, which is kind of a waste of our travel, right? We already know it's going to mark us a point here without really giving us much of a benefit. Or go to point 7, which is, what is point 7? This is point 6, right? So presumably point 7. Don't look, don't ruin it for yourself. 7. The boat. Okay, so I can either go back to... We got the boniest bones. I was trying to think of like a theme song for bones, but it didn't come to me. It'll come back to me. I'll find it later. I think I kind of want to go to the boat. If I go back to the church, I'm going to mark a realm point for essentially no benefit. Because I'd have to move 2 points to even get something else to interact with. And I want to try to maximize the amount of time that we have before an event triggers. So I think I'm going to go to the boat. Once again, could be shooting myself in the foot. But let's sling that coffin on our back. As Lazarus Grimstone will pace his way to point 7. Does the PDF have bookmarks that might help looking ahead without spoiling yourself on stuff? That is an excellent question. I don't think so. I feel like in my Mac reader, usually the bookmarks populate. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing again. This is the realm. Yeah, usually if it has bookmarks, all of the chapters goes here. Gila says the final release Quickstart was lazy. That's fair. You've already put in a lot of front-loaded work on this, Gila. It's okay. I just won't look. We'll give everyone that breather. Because yeah, I think normally it would populate on the left-hand side. Nar says I love when PDFs have bookmarks. I agree. I definitely agree. There's definitely been a couple of purchases I've made on like drive-through RPG from like independent publishers, which I love buying the books. Don't get me wrong, I love expanding my stuff. But when I don't have bookmarks and chapters, I'm like, oi, now I gotta scroll, click, scroll, click. Option F. My life for Option Fs. Okay, so we're gonna go to the boat. We're gonna see what happens. A small group of locals are arguing around a small boat. They stop and form a protective wall upon seeing your approach. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I would probably be a little taken aback if this dark-robed figure hauling a coffin on his back materialized before me. Cypher is one of my favorite PDFs. Not only does it have good bookmarks, but it has clickable links for all the abilities. Yo, real talk, yes. The new Cypher rulebook has excellent structuring. The one thing that really annoys me, though, and it's been a while since I've looked at the rulebook, is like the way, like, how do I describe it? Before in the older edition rulebooks, like even if abilities had repetitive effects, it was all listed under the same like if a character had an ability like training expertise, like it would state it right there, right? But now I kind of have to like click training expertise, and that takes me to like the appendices for training expertise, which means like if I want to know another ability that the character has, I have to like go back to that character to see what the next ability is in the chain, and then click on that, which takes me back to the appendices. That part's a little annoying, but otherwise, I love being able to click on things to find them very quickly. So anyway, so I have a learn option. That's all I have is a learn. Okay, so I'm gonna learn, and then we're gonna see what happens. Increase lore +1. In addition, you learn the horror's name. You're gonna let me name it? Gila, you're gonna let me name the horror? Oh, I love that. Wait, you mean Lazarus Grimstone doesn't casually blend in? I mean, given that this world does have, like, a massive corrupted church at the center of it, you would think that maybe just a dude in black robes in a coffin isn't, like, the strangest thing they've seen. But given that apparently their world is now turned over into darkness, maybe, okay, like, maybe they'd have some caution. Okay. Lazarus Grimstone has gained a point of lore. That means we're only one lore point away from actually getting to use the church, which is a good get for us. Okay. All right. Let's name the let's name the horror. So give me a few names for a monster which lives inside a haunted and cursed church. Let's see what this comes up with. Ooh. 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 That we have, what is this? The some of them are funny. The Phantom Parishioner is kind of cool. The Phantom Parishioner kind of gives me like Scooby-Doo vibes, but I kind of like it. A Cathedral Beast I feel like is straight up taken just from Bloodborne. Wraith of the Sanctum. Remember to ask for a list of suggestions. Yes. The Malevolent Altar Ghoul. It's just like a bunch of words thrown together. The Spirit of Sacred Ruin. That's kind of fun. Oh, but there's one that is the demon choir master, and there is a choir happening. Interesting. I don't know which one to go for. The choir master I kind of like, but demon I don't love. But maybe we can think of a better word to sub in for the demon choir master. So we have the name of the horror. You could pick one and have it come up. Oh, that's true. Give me similar suggestions to the demon choir master. See, I'm still so new to this world. I don't know. You can just ask that to happen. Oh, okay. Ooh, the hymn keeper. Ooh, that's kind of cool. The hymn keeper. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with the hymn keeper. It definitely has a soulsy kind of feel to it. The hymn keeper. That's pretty cool though. Yeah, I dig it. Maybe we'll think of another word to attach to in front of it, but maybe the haunted hymn keeper. But the hymn keeper is cool. So a small group of locals are arguing around a small boat. They're protective upon, so they're trying to escape. In my mind. Oh, it's not a beast you seek. It's one of our own. The high priest Lysander has been twisted. Their gospel a most vicious spell. Oh, so we do have their name, but then we have, Lysander. The cursed hymn keeper. Yeah. Or choir master, but we're gonna say hymn keeper. Lysander, the cursed hymn keeper. That is definitely a Souls name, a Souls boss name. I can see the boss, the name on the boss health meter appearing right before my eyes. Lysander, cursed of hymn keepers. So yes, I guess that's us approaching. They want to escape. We say,
"Halt, fair citizens of Kyrie. It is I, Lazarus Grimstone, here to purge your cursed land of the horrors that lay waste to your domain."
And then you can see, like, they're arm in arm in front of their boat.
Aye, that's fine. Do your dark business, necromancer. But be gone. We have no more use for you here.
And then I, sort of peek my robed and masked head around their shoulder to see them protecting their boat. It's probably like a dinky rowboat. It's probably not even enough for all of them to fit on. Like, half of them will probably perish trying to sail away from the island on it, all on its own. And there's probably just sort of like a smug grin from underneath the mask. Me having the knowledge that they don't have much of a chance of survival, but letting them press their luck if they should like.
Do not worry. I've no use for your vessel.
Not not a bone boat.
Not enough bones in that boat. 'Tis of no interest to me. Stack that baby up with some more bones, we'll talk.
It's that meme of the guy slapping the top of the car.
This bad boy can fit so many bones in it. Tell me, before you set sail from your darkened shores, the name of the beast that I seek. Tell me it, and I will leave you in peace.
And at this point, all the townsfolk will look to each other. There's definitely a bit of hesitation. Are they betraying one of their own? No. He's too far gone. Their minds race.
It's not a beast you seek, Master Necromancer. It's one of our own. The High Priest Lysander has been twisted. The gospel now, a most vicious spell.
Nar says,
Be gone from me, and yes, you can keep your bones.
Interesting. Okay. Lysander. The High Priest. High Priest Lysander. The Cursed Hymnkeeper. That's pretty badass. Okay. So that's what we learned. We got a point of lore to our name now, which is great. That means we are one step closer. Oh! I think that means something to us, too. Yes, thank you, Gil. I was literally... You were in my brain. You cast Detect Thoughts on me. I just randomly decided to put a 3 here, because I was like, that means something for us, right? Yes, we get to fill our vessel. Speaking of vessels, just not boat vessels. Okay, so we did take an action on this point. We learned the name Lysander the Hymnkeeper. But we also began to fill our vessel. The longer the name, the longer the health bar. I don't make the rules. Damn it! Lysander's going to be so strong by the time we meet him. We meet like another townsfolk and they're like,
yes, his middle name was...
No, don't tell me his middle name. I don't want to hear it. I have enough lore. So we learned the horror's name, yes. And we're almost to another part of the vessel. I wonder what that... So what does the vessel look like for us? The Kyrie vessel. I mean, I kind of like the idea that the vessel is a chalice. Or maybe the vessel is our... Ooh, what if the vessel... Because we have the coffin on our back. What if the vessel is like this skull, like this dark iron... Oh, what? Okay. So what if the coffin isn't so much a coffin as it is like a sarcophagus, right? That's like carved to look like a person, you know, like interred to rest. So this vessel, like a magic item, not a vessel like a ship. Yes, I said the word vessel referring to their boat in character as Lazarus, but no, in game, the vessel is one of our mechanics. So what if our vessel is our sarcophagus that we're dragging around, right? But like, you know, the figure that looks like a body that's being interred on the front, what if there are like these like empty sockets, you know, these empty runes, these sigils that are carved across the surface of it. And as we learn one of our points, right, you can see that like one of the sigils, now that we've unlocked like a cosmic truth of this domain, one of the, as we whisper the name, Lysander the Hymnkeeper, it like echoes out and one of the runes begins to flicker with like an eerie, you know, purple candlelight as suddenly it sparks to life on the back of our carrying case. And that sigil, you know, has like a series of different lines and runes that are leading towards like the heart, the center of the sarcophagus figure, which is carved into the back of our vessel. And so it's kind of like, if we fill up our vessel, if we learn all of these cosmic truths, if we learn all of the lore that we can here, then we will be able to like fill up like that empty heart center of the interred figure on the back of our sarcophagus, which fully unlocks the potential of our vessel. Huh? I think that's kind of cool. I dig that. I'm willing to roll with that. And, you know, kind of makes us not creating another magic item for ourselves to carry around. We have our coffin sarcophagus. It carries our dead body parts. It stores, you know, our vessels resources. Or I keep saying cosmic truths, but I do like the way that sounds. The binds of fate. Ooh, yeah, maybe, yeah. We talked a lot about fate. Okay, cool. So we mark a point on our realm clock. We mark a point in our vessel. Our necromantic grocery list.
Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, we could use a little bit more sinew. Oh, I cannot forget the brain tissue. Last time I forgot the brain tissue. Did not end well for old Lazarus.
So now we're going to go back. let's go back to our map. Okay, so once again, doubling back on the 6 does nothing for us, but... Oh, and I should... I already marked the travel. Oh, no, I didn't mark a travel, because that would have been body part, travel, body part, travel, and then lore. Oh, wow, so the first realm clock is almost filled. Oh, no. Okay, so that means we're going to travel to 5, and when we... Because I don't want to go back to 6. 6... Are you winning, son? Says Fleetwet. You know, we're not losing. we are we are testing fate, and perhaps fate is on our side. And perhaps not. But only time will tell. We're definitely making progress, which is about as good as you can get. So why don't we... I don't want to go back to 6. 6, oh, I should also make a note of what is what. 3 is the church. No, sorry. I'm a fool. 3 is the church. 1 is the anchor. And 6 is the boat. The boat. Nar says, we're not winning. Yeah, you know, net 0. net neutral, you know, action of us right now. All right, yeah, I think it's full steam ahead to 5. It's once again... Okay. Boy. So I'm a little nervous. We're going to head into 5, and we're going to fill the realm clock simultaneously. I'm going to assume that realm triggers first, because that's like the world event, and then whatever happens in 5 happens. So if the realm clock triggers something in 5, we'll unfortunately just be there when it happens, but... You know, no risk, no reward. Risking it for the biscuit of it. So we're going to mark our 6 clock, and we will move into 5. So we're going to have to check a couple things here. The first thing I'm going to check is... I'm going to check our effect on the realm clock. Clock 1. The sound of an unholy choir rings out through the air, starting in the east, with a response from the south. Interesting. Lose 1 of each component you are currently carrying. Oh no! I didn't even get to use them! Oh, what a bummer. Lazarus is out here scrounging and saving and carving up all these corpses for his necromantic grocery list. Getting his sinew, getting his bones, his better bones. And the choir has stolen... But you had 5+ components on you. Oh! Thank you so much for... Yes! Oh, Gila, see, if you were not here, I'd be roughing it. You're right, you're absolutely right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because You are a genius. Okay. So we are... Man, that vessel, though, is filling up. All right, so we're all out of blood. We lost all of our blood. We're dry. We're dry out here. But because Gila is a super necromancer, our vessel does get another point. So, oh man, I can almost imagine like we're traveling, like we're in between 7 to 5. You know, we're getting to point 5, and like halfway through here from the church, we hear like boom, boom, boom. You know, like some sort of like church bell beginning to ring as Lazarus turns their head towards the bell tower, and we begin to hear the choir, and it sweeps through the land, and maybe we even see like some phantasmal like ghosts which are being stirred up by the choir. Maybe they're even wearing, it's almost like watching a church procession or like a temple parade, like drifting above us in the night sky. And then in the direction that they're traveling, we begin to hear acquire respond to them, like the music being returned, right? And as we're like watching, mystified and horrified by what's happening, or at least I guess for a necromancer, intrigued, right? We begin to feel our pack become lighter as the bone and the body and the blood that we've collected dissipates and like forms into like a spectral mist, which leaks out of the side of our vessel. It sort of like a ghostly smoke. It rises out of the cracks and corners of our sarcophagus and floats up into the air and joins this ghostly procession as their spiritual energy like steals it, like their ectoplasmic form steals it from us as they march overhead, stealing our well gathered resources. Nar says, "Oh, so you can spend components to fill the vessel as well." I don't think we have to spend it. It just says for the vessel here, if we take a look at our vessel notes, have 5+ components carried. So having 5 components just on our person at a time. So as Gila pointed out, we'd started out with 1 component of each, which I forgot. Then, so we had 3 components to start. Then we got another one from the body at the anchor, and we got another one from the church offerings, which completed a total of 5. And that would have given us our second vessel point. We just got it late because I'm a few bones short of a whole skeleton, but Gila, who is multiple skeletons duct taped together, reminded me. That's correct. As long as you have them, you take the vessel. No need to spend them. Says Gila. Nar says when it fills, we can get 5. Yes. So if you get 3 more components, then will it fill again? That is a very good question. I'm going to say my knee-jerk reaction, and Gila can check me on this, is no, just because win a fight says repeatable, right? So winning a fight is a repeatable action which grants us a point on our vessel. But having 5+ components carried does not say repeatable, right? So I would assume, yeah, that's correct, cannot repeat. Okay, so actually what I might do I have the option to, I can put a shape down. Do I have a skull? I do, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna put a skull on, have 5+ components carried, and learn the horror's name, because that is not repeatable. Boop, boop. Alright, so I got a couple more things I can do to get that vessel up. Hey, who knows, maybe I'll be able to do it at Space 5, which we're going to see in just a moment. Let's go to Space 5. Go back to the realm. And then, yeah, nothing else for Space Clock 1, so for now, we will ignore Clock 2 and 3. And we will... the Force. Oh, the Force, that's right. The dense force of this realm is teeming with life. Strange, considering everything else is dead. It grows unnaturally, as is? Gila, look! I found an edit! And then I marked it out. I found an edit, Gila! Look, I'm so good at games. I found a typo. As if responding to your presence. Okay, here's the thing, Gila. I have PTSD about that tree from Rune that I fought at least 3 times that made the bone traps. So if you put another one of those bastards here, I'm going to be very sore. But such a friendly tree. Oh yeah, totally friendly. I just needed to feed it my blood. That's all. And fight it like at least twice. But let's see. Oh, speaking of fight, hey, our first fight, our first combat encounter, our first tests of fate, with Reap. I'm excited. Okay, so let's see. The canopy above you shields you, and we have to do fights as we learned in the rules. If there's a fight on a point, the fight must be completed first. You do not get the option to do anything else. So I'm glad it is the first box to check. I'm sure that was a intentional design decision because I can't do anything else before I do the fight. Nar says, better or worse than a Whomping Willow? It's a great question. At least with the Whomping Willow, like, I mean, I knew what I was getting into. I was gonna get whomped. It's in the name. But this tree, it was trying to eat my blood. It was like making these like spiky vine traps when I wasn't looking. It was a sneaky tree, you know? And that's how I prefer my enemies try to murder me. If you're gonna do it up front and whomp me. Don't do it slow. Don't do it behind my back. Don't do it under my feet with some spiky vines. Just whomp me. Have some honor. The canopy above she's from the bright light. Okay, special rule. This fight cannot be ignored. I didn't know that I could ignore fights to begin with. Interesting. But I can't do it, so it doesn't matter. Once you enter this point, you must complete this fight. It has not already been won. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some setup on this fight. And I'm probably going to generate some art assets in between. So, stick, you know, get comfy, strap in. Gila says you can if you don't want to do any of the other things at the point. Oh, I see what you're saying. So kind of like how I didn't have to mark the delve because I didn't interact with it. If I choose not to interact with the fight, I can ignore it, but that means I cannot interact with the other things on the point as well. I see what you're saying. Okay, cool. Well, it doesn't matter. Thank you for explaining that. You're so kind, Gila. And it doesn't matter because I can't ignore it. So we're gonna go to our our little cheat sheet I made here. Look at this. All right, so we got the Reaper starts at C5. Grab me, put me here, towards the end of the row. Oh boy! And everybody remember, I got to bank a 5 and a 6. Gila told me I could do it. It's not cheating. Nar says, so you gotta fight if you want to stick around the area, but if you don't want to fight right now, you could run away to a different area and potentially come back later. Nar, from what I understand, and Gila can check me on this, normally, yes. However, yes, and Gila confirms, however, this forest fight does specifically state that it has a special rule. This fight cannot be ignored. Once you enter this point, you must complete this fight. So I think this is the exception. Normally, you could ignore it, you could run away. Right, yes, this is the exception. Unfortunately, the forest is dark and full of terrors, and it wants to eat me, you know, which is fair, which is fine. So we have 3 Ashborn, which I don't know what that is, but I'm about to find out. Let me look at the quick reference sheet. I'm assuming they're there. Ashborn. Oh, interesting. It doesn't give me a description of the being. I remember in Rune there were little blurbs about them, but this one gives me some room for interpretation, so I'll take a look at that in a moment. Is this from the clock event or just something from the area? This is just something from the area. The only thing that triggered from the clock event was us losing some of our resources. Flavor text coming in full. Oh, okay, Gila. All right, cool. Well, then I'm glad to help brainstorm and substitute some flavor text for now. Yeah, the only thing we triggered from the Realm event was the loss of resources. This fight is specifically because it lives on point 5 of the map, and unfortunately, we cannot ignore it. Which I honestly don't know if I'd want to ignore it anyway. It's our first fight. Like, I kind of want to fight. I want to test the system. Nar says, oh yeah, I remember now, my brain forgot the component loss. It does that sometimes. Listen, it's because you lost some components. I'm assuming when you lose body, a little bit of the brain matter gets taken with it. And that's just science. baby. That's how it works. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to ignore it anyway, even if I could. Because, I mean, I have to kill things to get rewards, and I am a cool necromancer, so I wanna do it. Alright, so an Ashborn. Interesting. Yes, let's generate some art for these guys. So, from their stat block, what we can infer is that we can get body from them, so they are sort of like a corporeal being. And they have the ability Burn. Take 1 harm the next round if you do not move. So they are from the forest. The forest moves to attack me. So they are like an element of the forest, but they also are like charred and burned. I'm kind of getting the sense that they're kind of like these wooden kind of creatures, but they're like made out of like burnt and charred wood. That's kind of my headcanon right now. And we'll play with it, and maybe we'll get some cool art out of it, and maybe I'm just dumb. But we'll see. We'll say a a spooky forest creature made of barren and charred wood, covered in burning embers. I'm going to say a spooky humanoid forest creature made of barren and charred wood covered in burning embers. Dark fantasy. Let's see what we get. Maybe it'll be cool. Maybe it will be cool. And I'm going to finally summon some skeletons. That's why I wanted to get into a fight. Oh, that's so metal. I love it. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Hopefully it just fell to my desktop so I don't have to do too much hunting. But, oh my god, look at this thing. That's so cool. Look at this. Oh, I love it. That's very cool. It's made of, like, brambles. I kind of like the idea that the forest is, like, dead and spooky and barren. But, oh, man, that's cool. That's so sick. Yeah, that was well done. Well done, Internet. You nailed it that time. What's that quote? Capitalism really popped off today. Okay, so a couple things. Oh, and we also know there's permanent terrain in 2 spaces. So let's actually a spooky forest landscape, barren trees, dark dark atmosphere, dark fantasy, digital art. And that will be our permanent terrain. We'll see what we got here, ba-da-da-dum. And then we'll build our fight map, and then we will have a proper fight. Ooh. Oh, I kind of like this one because it does have a bit of a red tint to it. It almost kind of looks like the fire that was kind of referenced in our Ashborn picture. Okay, so let's go with let's go to our fight map. I'm gonna have to juggle a lot of things. The terrain is at A1 through 5 and E1 through 5. Interesting. So there are lines. So it's kind of a narrow arena. So let's go here. This is going to be our... Oh. As I move the world. The world shaketh. We're going to copy, paste, paste, paste. Paste, I say. Paste, you fool. Paste. 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 Yeah, this is going to be narrow. And this is permanent terrain, not difficult. So we cannot exist in it. I don't know if that means... I have to double check the rules if we can travel through it or if we can spectral step through it. I'm not sure. But we cannot end our turn there. That much is very true. Ashborn is at A2, B2, C2. Okay, so let's grab our Ashborn. Our spooky Ashborn. Wait, did that say A2? Did I lie? I did. Did I read this wrong? Permanent terrain, A1 through 5. But they start on A2. Says you could spectral step through it as if there was something on the other side. Oh, is this the battle map? B2, C2, D2. Thank you. I was wondering. Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have the ability to move through the trees. I mean, that would make sense and be spooky. But, you know, it's good to have confirmation. All right, so I'm going to go left to right here. Oh, actually... It's gonna be a little annoying, but this is just how this is how I had to do it for the last game too. I'm just gonna say left, middle, right. So left, middle, right. And that may change as the battle happens, but we'll just split the difference if we ever need to. Nar says, oh, this is the battle map? Yes. This is the battle map, and you'll see once we get into the swing of things. But speaking of the swing of things, we can't have a fight with no fight music. There we go. All right. So, left, middle, right. We'll make some extra space for their rolls to remember things. Perfect. Okay. Oh, so we're not playing Necromantic Bingo. Not yet. I mean, depends on how these Ashborn feel after the fight. Maybe they're cool. Maybe they want to vibe. Oh, I also already made a skeleton token because these are the same skeleton tokens that were from our Rune game, from the final boss. The one that would summon undead to murder us. I still had them. So we got some skeletons that we can hopefully summon eventually. Okay, so the Reaper's at C5. The terrain is permanent. The enemies are there, which means we're ready to start a fight. Okay, so we're walking through the woods. We are watching as I'll turn down our battle music a little bit. Skelly boys, our skelly friends. They're just skelling around. They're just rattling around. We're walking through the forest. We are watching as the ghostly procession streaks across the night sky and wails like banshees and wraiths as they sing, and our components, you know, disapparate into smoke and mist and are stolen. And as we are wandering through the forest, we do not see that it appears like all of these dead and broken branches are kind of bending and tilting and teaming and shifting in such a way that it's as if they are watching us march through the wood in our distracted state. And as we are walking, some of the blackened vines and branches and brambles sort of begin to knit themselves together, right? Into these fine ropey cords that build upon another and stretch until they form these vaguely humanoid shapes born of thorns and branch, and with a sputtering cough, a gasping rasp of smoke and ash that explodes out of this maw of tangled wood at the front of their face. There is a gout of black smoke, and then suddenly, almost like you hear a furnace click on, something ignites from deep within that hollow skull as a red flame begins to burn maliciously, and you can see that same fiery light echo out through the little gaps and corners of its body that's made from all of the branches being woven together. This feels like a monster from The Witcher. Perfect. That is exactly the vibe we want to go for here. I love The Witcher monster designs. And you can see as they're standing there, sort of like chittering and twisting, coughing and sputtering up embers and smoke. We turn on our heels. We open up the folds of our cloak as our sickle zoop, like levitates into our hand as our tome zoop, also flies into our other open fist. Like immediately, like reading our thoughts, flipping open to the page that holds our spells and rituals fit for combat as battle is joined. All right, so now we get to follow the combat steps as they're outlined here in this nice, handy-dandy little notebook. Oh, and you know what I should also have handy? I should have the Ashborn stats up. I'm gonna just zoom in so all I see are Ashborn stats. Can I actually do that? Kinda, sorta. Okay, Ashborn stats. Perfect. So the first thing we do... Alright, and this is our first combat tutorial, so this is pretty exciting. So the first thing we do if we consult our chart is we determine the enemy actions by a 1d6 roll for each. Nar says, plot twist, to beat this encounter, all you need to do is give them a lozenge. I don't think I would want to accept a lozenge that was gifted to me from Lazarus. A lozenge from Lazarus, because it's probably, like, calcified, like, muscle, and you bite into it, and it just drips with, like, some unknown ooze. I don't want to have to wrap my brain around that. But... I mean, if it's the way that I auto-win, I'll take it. All right, so the first things first. We roll a d6 for each enemy. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's a 2, 3, 2, right? Left, middle, right. Now we consult our stat sheet for the monster, the Ashborn. They have 4 health. They are type monster. They can only attack by range 0 or 1, so they are melee fighters. Photoshop the evil queen of Snow White to be replaced with Lazarus handing out a lozenge instead of an apple.
Yes, dearie. The most beautiful in the land. Also, you're sounding a little hoarse.
So this is their stats. So these effects we rolled, 2, 3, 2, are what the monsters will do according to their die rolls. So, left, move 1s, harm 1s. Middle, moves 2, harm 1, burns. And then move 1, harm 1. So, enemies and complete any non-harm actions they have. So, that means we can resolve all of their actions except for damage, because as Gila pointed out to us before, our Reaper actions and damage will resolve first. So, we will resolve their movements. So, one gets a move 1, one gets a move 1, one gets a move 2, which will actually put them in melee range with us. So, it's getting spicy right from the get-go, but don't worry, we have some plans of our own. Unfortunately, that one's the burn 2 as well. Or the burn 1, I should say. Alright, now the Reaper has a 5 and a 6. Because that's been saved since moment number 1. So now we can consult our abilities and see how we want to assign those dice. And we have some resources to spend on our tome and whatnot if we need to. So, once again, we have the ability to summon a skeleton on a 6. Or a 5. And then we have a 5. What's a move? Move 1, harm 2. Okay. Oh, we can also spectral step. Ooh. That's cool. That might be worth it. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Enemies can occupy the same spaces as friends, right? Which means, if I'm reading my rules correctly, I could summon a skeleton in the zone that the monster's in, right? If I summon a skeleton and the monster is in, I can then spectral step to move 3 spaces away. 1, 2, 3. Monsters cannot attack diagonally, so I will not be at a Nar. Get in the zone, necro zone. Clip that. I can move there. I will be diagonal to the other Ashborn. The Ashborn cannot attack diagonally, which means the enemy will be forced to attack. The Ashborn will force to be attacked the skeleton and not me. Number 1, love that for me. Number 2, when I move through an enemy space, they become haunted. So they will take more damage. Now here's a question that I don't know, and if Gila's still with us, maybe Gila can verify. I summon a skeleton in an adjacent space. Every round, the skeleton can move 1, harm 1 at 0 or 1 range. Does the skeleton get actions immediately when I summon them? You know, is the skeleton's action happen in the same action economy as me summoning them? Yep. Oh, gorgeous. We love to see it. I might actually I might give this skeleton a few extra bones, my guy. Because let's check this out. So, if the Ashborn, this Ashborn specifically, is attacking at a tier 3, that means it's doing harm 1 and burn. So the Skelly's gonna take damage. But if I give him some extra health, then it can survive another hit. Let's take a look at my inventory. I got a body and I got a bone. Maybe I do both. Maybe I just give this skeleton my body and my bones. I just make like 1 super skeleton minion to help me just boss down these Ashborn. I'm not against it. Because it would definitely have, it only has what, 2 health to begin with? A skelly bow. A skelly bone. 2 health, yeah, which means it will die next turn if I don't give it more health. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna make 1 super skeleton. And yeah. Alright, so we're resolving a couple effects here. Speaking of resolving effects. So we're using the 5 on Skelly, +1 body and bone. So this means that our Skelly minion now starts with 2 health. It's gonna gain 2 health from the body and +1 from the bone. So it's going to have 5 health. That is a tanky skeleton. And it automatically deals 1 harm. So it will deal 2 harm. And it'll still have 1 move per round. Okay. Oh boy. All right, I'm already seeing the inventory management. I'm gonna subtract these now so I don't forget. So I've made a super skeleton. I've made the best skeleton you could possibly ever make. And now, and I ain't done. You thought I was done? And another one. I'm gonna go back to my build. I'm gonna teleport 3 spaces. Every enemy whose space you move through is now haunted. So I'm gonna move 1, 2. I can't move diagonally, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. When I rematerialize, this guy is haunted, which means he's gonna take 1 extra damage. So now, resolving the rest of my effects before the monsters act, my skeleton is in the same space, right? Determine and resolve Reaper actions. Assign, complete all actions. Yes. The skeleton... Oh, Nar got yelled at by the mod, but it's okay. Nar said, just drop a super skelly and get him. Yeah, I mean, like, I could just, like, spectral step and just, like, yeet my way out of here. But no, we gotta put him back. We gotta put these Ashborn to rest. We summon our super skelly. The skeleton now deals 2 harm, but because this middle skeleton is haunted, it will take an additional 1 harm, right? So the middle skeleton's, oh, sorry, not the skeleton, Ashborn. The middle Ashborn started with 4 health. I'm dealing 3 damage. So that skelly is skelly. I'm gonna keep saying that because I'm used to the skeletons being my enemies. This means that its HP goes to 1 out of 4. Which I think is a pretty dang good start to this fight. I ain't gonna lie. That's a strong start to this turn. So yeah, what happens? These things rise out of the ground. They're coughing and sputtering up embers and smoke. And they're like twitching, and you can hear like the branches creaking and cracking as they begin to like lumber towards me. You see Lazarus holds out his tome and begins to spin the sickle high above his head. And sort of like saying all these ancient incantations. As he does so, 2 things happen at like in a breakneck pace. Lazarus, my body, like my flesh, almost looks like it just tears off, right, into like this glowing veil. I become like a bodiless mist, right, as I rush forward. And as I'm rushing forward, right, out of the ground beneath my feet, the blackened soil where the Ashborn is lumbering, you see a hand reach upward, this skeletal form press down into the dirt and pull itself upward with a rasp as a skeleton pries itself out of the earth right in the path of the Ashborn, trying to swipe at me as I become a ghostly mist before it makes contact. So now the skeleton will resolve its damage. First, I deal 3. I drop it down to 1. Now we resolve the Ashborn. Enemies deal harm if able. No applicable targets, no harm. No applicable targets, no harm. This now does have a target, which is our very noble skeleton. So I rolled a 3 for him, for middle, which means move to harm 1 and burn. Okay, burn kind of sucks, but we might be able to save him next round with a move. Oh wait, next round if you do not move. Okay, maybe Gila might have to check me on this too. Take 1 harm the next round if you do not move. So does this mean that burn won't trigger until the enemy phase next turn? So if the skeleton moves during my phase... Okay, thank you. Perfect. That is what I assumed. Okay, so immediately though the skeleton does have to take... You have time to stop, drop, and roll. The skeleton just like... Nar says test? The test worked for you. Nar also says, skellies are friends, not food. I mean, enemies, not food. I mean, we do eat bones, though, so they might be food. Skellies are friends and food, but definitely not enemies. Nailed it. Oh, my other message didn't go. Oh, sorry, Nar. I was just so wrapped up in doing my skeleton math. I'm doing my bone math. You know how I am with the bone math, Nar. I just get so wrapped up in the bone math. Okay. So, the skeleton will unfortunately still take 1 point of damage. Poink. But that's okay. The skeleton's got got bones to spare. Quite literally has bones to spare on this fight. And that is going to take us to... Oh, and the skeleton right now. I'm going to mark that he is burned, but I may be able to resolve that before the next turn. I'm also going to erase my skeleton note here. I already know what I did for his extra buffs. Oh, but yeah, when it comes to stop, drop, and roll, I imagine the skeleton literally just falls apart into a pile of bones and then just, like, rolls around in the dirt in, like, a big lump and then, like, reconstitutes itself. Nar says, you're good. I literally didn't see in the little chat window and I thought the mod was muting me or something. Oh, no. No, the mod yelled at you once for saying GTFO, which, I mean, okay, mod. I get it. I do have the mod things high because I'm trying to make sure people are chill. But I'm like, you're good. Nar, you're good. Don't you worry. Don't you worry your pretty little head, Nar. Alright, so now the Reaper may reap components from any enemy bodies at range 1 at the end of the round. I have none. It must have thought I was saying it aggressively. Yes, in parentheses. GTFO, in parentheses, aggressive. Okay, so hey, that's a good... Hey, I'm glad we got to bank that 5 and that 6, because we started off strong with a super skeleton and a teleport. That was pretty badass. So now we begin round 2. So we pull back up our dice chart. We're going to roll. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that 5. That middle boy really wants it. Wants a fight. The middle one... What the heck? Okay, haunted, yeah. Middle one got a 5. That's a high roll. It's probably going to be a pretty decent effect. And the right one got a 3, which is still a pretty decent roll for these guys. Oh, I put the R there for Reaper, in case I need to remember things. But so far, I'm okay. Okay. So we have a 1, a 5, and a 3. Move enemies to complete any non-harm actions they have. You could say it's giving you the middle finger, or in this case, the middle branch. Yeah, it, like, has to, like, more vines and, like, brambles, like, crawl onto its hand so it can, like, roughly approximate a middle finger.
I don't know what this means, but apparently it pisses you off.
Okay. Let's figure out where they're going. Move 1, harm 1. So it's getting close to me. Middle... Interesting. So I kind of have my choice of what the Ashborn does. Does the Ashborn... Because it technically has a target by it, a melee target in the skeletons, or, once again, Gila can probably verify for me, do the enemies always move closest to the necromancer, or do the enemies choose any applicable target? So will they auto-target skeletons if I have one available, or do they always move towards me no matter what? Because if they don't move toward me no matter what, I haven't figured that out. I leave it to the player. Okay. If that's the case, I might just let the role play of it win in my brain and say, you can decide the minion aggros if you like. Okay, yeah, that's my mentality. Like, it would depend on the enemy for me. I think if I was fighting like a more tactical, you know, like a brilliant enemy, maybe they would choose to focus on me. But to me, the Ashborn just seem like angry manifestations of like a charred wood. And so they just see anything and they're like, I need to break it. I need to hurt it. And it would make sense that they would attack whatever aggroes them last, says Nar. Yeah, I agree. That's the easiest way to like auto their AI. I was doing the hard. I was like, because of the lore that I've made up in my head. And Nar's like, yeah, it hit him last. And I'm like, you're right. Okay. And then the last one got a 3, which is move 2, harm 1, burn. Okay, so this thing can go 1 and 2. It can enter my space, which is unfortunate. And so now, depending on what I roll, is really going to determine what happens here. I'm kind of hoping I get another teleport. Nar says, unless it's the type of enemy that would ignore the undead, like a hungry monster that wants to eat you for food. That's actually a really good point. I had not considered that, but that is very lore-friendly. Yeah, I mean, I think these things don't eat. I think they're just angry spirits. But I 100% agree that if this was like a monster that would hunt, Yeah, it would probably go for me. I don't really know how tasty or nourishing Lazarus would be as a snack, but better than a bunch of bones. All right, so now let's resolve our actions as the necromancer. So we go 1, 2. Oh, a 2 and a 2. That's not good. That's not looking hot, buddy boy. All right, we can still see what we got. Take a look at, oh gosh, once again, I told myself I'd be juggling so many things. The build. So on a 4, I could either use my scythe. Okay, that won't kill anything, but it'll deal damage. I could also use my scythe on a 2, but that's even less damage. Although I could use it to move and get out of harm's way, at least from one of them. I have 2 on me currently. I could summon another skeleton with a 4. And I could also teleport. I think I'm definitely going to sum them. I don't think taking a 2 is worth it in this case by any means. Nar says, although I can definitely see a necromancer altering their body to be more undead-like and not appealing to enemies, sort of like a pale master. Yeah, that's like what I imagine. Like, Lazarus could definitely be more of a sentient walking corpse than he is a person. But we don't know, because he's wrapped up under all those dark robes. Okay, but let me take a look at this battle map, because I think I might have just cracked the code here. Because this might sound silly, but follow me. If I use the 4, if I sum the 2, here's me doing some more bone math. If I sum the 2 to make a 4, and I spend the 4 on another step, I could actually teleport 1, 2, 3 exactly where I landed. Now, if I do that, the Ashborn, the Ash creature, let me think this through. I can also move my skeleton. Oh, but 2 creatures can occupy the same space. Okay, I have this. So I can move the skeleton back a space on my turn. This will negate the burned status. There we go. No longer burned. Then I teleport my way 1, 2, 3 back here. I evade both points of damage from the Ashborn, and I haunt this guy again. Kind of overkill because he only has 1 HP, but hey, you know, flexing my spells over here. I haunt this guy again. The Ashborn, I'm going to teleport behind in my fiction. I'm going to teleport behind the skeleton that I move back here, use it as a meat shield, a bone shield, to absorb the hit from the Ashborn. But wait! Double light bulb. Gila says, I love it when that light bulb moment happens, but I don't even think I need to absorb the hit because the Reaper actions trigger first and the skeleton is a Reaper action. So I teleport here, I move my skeleton back, the skeleton then deals 1 harm, which is now 2 harm because I've haunted it, which is more than enough to kill it, which will kill the Ashborn. And not only that, it will mean that I am within 1 range of a corpse when they die at the end of the round, so I can reap it. Nice. Look at me. I feel like Chad is just watching like a beautiful mind right now. There's like, or that meme of that girl with like all of like the equations running across her face. It's just like, if I do, and then they, but if he, and then also, therefore, just like all these points on a map. Okay, perfect. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sum the 2 into a 4, spend the 4, step back, draw the skeleton with me. Skeletons will strike first, which will kill. I wonder what I could do to kind of help me. Oh, there we go. I can make him black and white. I Oh, wow, perfect. Yeah, like in the fiction... Oh, and then what do I get from the... What do I get from the Ashborn? I get a body part. Ooh, creepy. I get like a withered limb of like a... Oh, that's cool. It's like a cracked husk of like a... Maybe it's like still twitching, like it's like living but unliving. Like the arm of it. Oh, that's cool. I dig that. All right, I'm gonna go to Microsoft Office, get myself a body part, which I can spend on other spells now. I dig that. Ah, Gila, I liked Rune. I'm not gonna lie, I really loved Rune, but I'm digging this. I'm digging these new systems. I'm digging the resources. It's very fun. Okay, so the corpse stays on the field. It is now difficult terrain, but hey, now I got some bodies. Nar says, nice, 1 down, 2 to go. Come at me. All right, that means we're going to put him back on the center stage. The monsters would normally resolve their effects in stage 4, but can't, so it doesn't matter. There's a few more buttons and levers to mess with, but once you get the hang of it, the game is pretty dang fun. Yeah, that was the same thing. When I ran Rune, it was like, I just need to get this loop down. Once I understand the loop, I'm good. And it's the same thing here. But I do like that it spices the loop up, you know? It kind of makes the loop a little bit more unpredictable, which is fun. Okay. Nice. All right, so now we go back to the top of the round. We are going to roll for, well, I guess I'm just going to say left and right for now. Since we slayed one. We're going to go bang, bang. A 4. Okay, 4 is still high on a D6. Okay, that is a move 2, harm 1, burn. Ugh. Move 2, so it's going to go 1, 2. So it is actually going to be in this space, which is enough to hit both of us, but also standing in difficult terrain, which means it does suffer 1 additional harm, depending on what I roll. So, we'll see. Also I forgot. You reap. Yes, Gila, I did mark that in my... I did mark the extra body part. When I was talking about the gnarled bramble arm. I might have not expressly stated that I did it, but I did. Mentally, I clocked it. I do have a body part now. Oh, then the corpse is gone and not... I just poked my mic. The corpse is gone and not terrain. Thank you. Okay. So then I lied. I made a liar out of myself. All right. So I forgot that my skeleton actually does additional damage too now that I've upgraded him. I don't know if that could have saved me a turn of damage last round. I don't think. I still think it would have ended with 1. But it's good to remember. Okay. So we moved him to... So what is this going to do? It's going to move to harm 1, burn. It's going to move to harm 1, burn. If it lands, left. Oh, sorry, I totally lied. That is left. I moved the wrong being. This guy should be here. So this is actually move 2. Oh, great. Actually cannot hit me unless I make a false move. And then 2 is move 1, harm 1. Okay. So honestly, right now, unless, depending on how if I misstep, I'm not currently slated to take damage, but I also can only really deal damage in melee because of my scythe, since I don't have drain or spike. So I am going to have to put myself in harm's way of at least one of these things if I want to deal damage. So now we're just going to have to roll dice and see what happens with us. So we're going to roll our 2. A 2 and a 6. Now the 6, baby, we love a 6. We love a 6. A 6 could be another skeleton, I think. Minions. Like a super skeleton, and then just like a slightly regular skeleton. But let's see. The build. 6, I can definitely summon a skeleton. Could also deal a bunch of harm. and I can't spectral step. It needs to be a 3 or 2 or 5. So yeah, summon skeleton and scythe seems to be the way to go. So let's see how I do this then. I kind of have to spend the 6 on the skeleton, otherwise it's a waste. The 2 I can still cash in on my scythe, but let's take a look. So my 2 is on the scythe is a move 1, harm 1. So if I move here, I could potentially not take any damage from this Ashborn, right? Because there's no orthogonal opening. Oh, and the skeleton... juggle. The skeleton moves 1 and harms 1. Well, technically harms 2 because he's a big, strong skeleton. So what if I moved this skeleton up, but then spent the 6 making a new skeleton in this space? How about that? Getting my skeletal minion army going, huh? Okay, so if that happens, I'm gonna have to keep track. Okay, this right here, I'm gonna put the saturation way up on you. Maybe the exposure. This is super skeleton. The one that is glowing like it has a grand aura is super skeleton, and we'll make the one that looks like more dingy and dim. That's regular skeleton. He's not the best skeleton, but he's our skeleton. Okay. Which means I'm gonna put that skeleton in the path of it's Super Saiyan skeleton.
You dare hurt the master?
So yeah, and then I'm just gonna make another bone shield, right? And so we resolve our effects first. So I've already moved him up to do his thing. I might be able to kill one of these skeletons right here because this is still a move 1, harm 1. So I have 1 harm on deck going this way. The skeleton would also deal a harm, so that's 2 harm on deck. And Super Skelly does 2 points of harm because he's Super Skelly. So 1 damage plus 1 damage plus 2. If I'm doing that bone math correctly, that's 4 points of damage. And an Ashborn only has 4 health. If I'm not a fool. Mama didn't raise no fool. Necromancer didn't raise no fool. Didn't raise dead no fool. All the Necromancer jokes tonight. And then I will also be within melee range of the corpse at the end of the round, so I can reap it for another body part. I think that's the way to go. I think I've cracked that code. Meat shield, bone shield, 1 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage, total 4. I think that's a dead Ashborn. I think Super Skelly is carrying this fight, honestly. I don't think this guy ever stood a chance. Like in my mind, the way this fiction works is like this the Ashborn is running at me, and then like I'm speaking into my tome, Isoturas meatu, and as like another skeletal hand reaches up through the dirt and like grabs the ankle of the Ashborn and like tries to drag it into the dirt, and like as it's like struggling as the skeleton's like trying to claw it back into the ground, that's when my sickle, now gleaming with ethereal energy like spectral light, and Super Skelly, who is like Super Saiyan aura-ing, to the right, sort of gives it like a 1-2 punchers, like a claw, scythe, and the thing just breaks apart into like 3 chunks, like 1 chunk getting torn out from the skeleton underneath, 1 getting raked off from the claws of Super Skelly, and then another chunk being carved out by the sickle. Oh, Nara, we love a catchy one-liner.
Time to root out the weeds.
Shing! I think that thing is just obliterated. So Ashborn 2. So we would resolve that before they would resolve their effects. Now, this Super Skelly is still technically within range of this guy. So he's still going to take some damage, unfortunately. But, right. Yeah. 1 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage. This guy dies before he triggers his damage. However, Ashborn right, which got a move 1, harm 1, will trigger his damage. So Skelly, Super Skelly will eat a point of damage, is now at 3 out of 5 health, which removes... And that one didn't take any damage yet. But I mean, 3-on-1. How the tables have turned. It was 3-on-1. I'm walking through the forest. I get ambushed by like some cinder vine creatures. And then you blink your eye and suddenly it's 3-on-1 in revoice. Sorry about it, buddy. Sorry, friendo. Alright. So now we, and I get the body part. I reap at the end of the round. So I will give myself another body part. Tasty. Oh, and then actually, I reaped it with my sickle. So does that have any... I know it had a benefit, but does it matter in this situation? Let me take a look. Scythe. Immediately reap any enemy kill with Scythe. Those components may be used with the spell you are currently casting. Okay, technically, I reaped it at the moment of impact, but I don't think I want to spend it on a spell that I'm currently casting. I mean, I could make another Super Skelly, but I think the Skelly that we got is pretty good. Although I will say, if I look at Skeleton, and maybe this is something Gila can clarify, if I had a body part that gives +2 health, and I can cast it in the spell that I'm already casting, could I potentially use that body part to heal Super Skelly up by 2 points? Because I'd be giving Skelly 2 health. Alternatively, if I already gave him 2 health, so if he had a maximum of 5 health, could I increase that to 7? If he didn't take any damage? Is +2 health like... You know what I mean? Is +2 health expressly healing? No, it would only be used on a Skelly that you summoned this turn. Thank you for the clarification. So, there is no healthcare program for Super Skelly. Super Skelly will only last so long. But that's interesting. Okay. That's fine. I was going to burn it anyway, because I think we had this fight well in hand. But always good to know for the future, because I feel like this is definitely going to be a multi-session stream of Reap for sure, and I'm going to need to know that for future fights. Okay, so we're going to go back to the combat. I've reaped the body part, and then we're going to go back to the top of the round. I kind of feel bad for this Ashborn here. I mean, granted, I could roll pretty dismally, but I'm feeling pretty confident about my position here. The Ashborn's got a 3, which is a move 2, harm 1, burn. Move 2, harm 1, burn. So yeah, I think it would just it would throw itself headlong into Super Skelly. Poor thing. And now we talk about, and we do us first to resolve. So I'm gonna roll my 2 dice. A 3 and a 4. Those are pretty solid rolls. I don't know what that does yet, a 3 and a 4, but I ain't mad about it. So, 3 and a 4. A 4 is a move 1, harm 2. 4 is also another skeleton. 4 is also a spectral step. So is a 3. A spectral step is also... Oh, okay. What I might do, just for flash, just to flex on him, right? What I might do, if I spend the 3 to Spectral Step. So if I go 1, 2, 3, if I end here, right, that is going to mean he's haunted. So he's getting +1 damage on him, right? Now with my 4, I can summon another Skelly, and I can summon that in my space, since 2 creatures can occupy the same space, right? So now, this is something, a 3-on-1 became a 4-on-1. So he's haunted, so he has maximum health, but he's taking an additional point of damage, right? Super Skelly does 2 points of damage, right? Then 3 plus 4, so that's already 4 damage to begin with, plus Ashborn is weakened by a point, so it would be taking a total of 5 damage per turn. I could just hit him with my sickle, but if we're playing the minion build, I mean, isn't it more fitting to finish this poor Ashborn off with like with a small platoon, a little legion of skeletal soldiers tearing him apart? I think so. I think I'm doing that correctly. Spend the 4 on the spec step. 1, 2, 3. Give him the haunt. Summon Skelly in my space. Oh wait, I should actually clarify. I can only summon the skeleton in an adjacent empty space. Ugh. Darn it. But wait, if I'm here, they're currently in the same space. I think I can still do this, but it has to happen in a slightly different order. I think what happens is I summon skeleton here. Empty adjacent space. Yes? Then... Oh, but that's also an interesting thing. Spectral Step. Every enemy whose space you moved into is haunted. Good to know. I can't debuff my own skeletons, which is a good thing. So, slightly different order. Summon the skeleton first into an empty adjacent space. Then I Spectral Step. 1, 2, 3. Ending here. Creature is still haunted. Has enemy 1, has enemy 2, has enemy 3. Because the skeletons do have a range of 0 or 1. So then harm 2, harm 1, that is harm 4. +1 harm for being haunted. I mean, it's kind of the nuclear option, but go big or go home when you're the necromancer, am I right? So yeah, I think that's exactly what happens. I think we point our sickle at the ground. We say some more dark incantations. Aratio Tsuromatanu. As like, you know, there's like an eerie green light. Another skeleton rips its way out of the dirt. It flails and throws itself at the Ashborn as we disappear in a flash. And I think like what happens is like we become that spectral mist, that like fog that looks like a... I imagine there's like a humanoid, like a vaguely humanoid silhouette like in the smoke, but like emaciated and like gaunt, right? And like the ends of our cloak like shrivels off and becomes like, you know, gusts of ethereal air behind us. We like move through the Ashborn, like we're like, our smoke is like peeling through the holes and like gaps in their branchy body. As the creature sort of like turns around to try to see what just moved through it, is just then dog piled on by the other skeletons who are just like, just like tearing it piece by piece, ripping it apart, just pulling like handfuls of vines and brambles out of its form, until like all that's left is what appears to be like a little bonfire, like a bundle of sticks with just a faint glimmer of light, the last speck of its like life force, its fiery life force at its center. And there's like, you know, like a dramatic pause as all of the skeletons are standing around in a semicircle, just sort of rasping and like waiting orders. And then you just see the thick, dark, black leather boot of Lazarus appear and slam down on the remaining cinders and grind the boot into the ground with a smoke, you know, like ekes up from underneath his footfall, and then I think that is one slain Ashborn. So we got a lot of bones this fight, because I would also be within range to reap the corpse. So Nar says bone plus bone plus bone plus dead enemies equals more bones. Actually, that is 100% right, because this thing's gonna die. I'm gonna die. I don't know if it ever really truly lived, but it's gonna die. And then I will reap it for a body part. I came in here with hardly any body parts. I'm leaving rich with components. Look at that. Bodied up. Double cheeked up on a Tuesday afternoon. And then with that, I think that ends our first combat. So we'll put us back on our not intense fight music. Look at us go. We crushed that, I think. I mean, compared to the first combat I had in Rune, and I do know that Reap, as we know, kind of favors the player character now. It empowers them to a higher degree. I mean, I was scraping by, but I feel well powerful after those turns. I'm actually very sad to see Super Skelly go. Super Skelly was MVP of that fight for sure. Okay. So let's go back to our point 5. We are going to mark our fight. Does anything else happen? Oh, the Ashborn thing was right here. I could have just scrolled down. What a fool am I. Oh, that's all that happens at the point 5. Dang. I was hoping for some... Look at me, hoping for a reward. Well, actually, I guess there is a sort of reward. Gila says, yeah, just a cheeky ambush. I mean, it makes sense. They all can't be rewards, right? So much as... But, in a way, I was about to say, there is kind of a reward in that I do make progress on my vessel, if I'm not mistaken. Because the vessel marks every time I win a fight, which I definitely did. So I will do that. I've also technically completed an action on a point because I finished a fight, which means I would mark a spot on this realm clock as well. Okay. So, interesting. So I got halfway through the vessel, but the vessel, as far as we know now, doesn't really have a tangible benefit for us completing. Normally it would, but I don't think it does in the playtest. So if we fill out the vessel, cool, right? Unless I'm forgetting something. But yeah, I think like, oh, you know what? Nar, you said maybe the next time you summon Super Skelly, it's actually the same one. I was thinking, since we actually mark off a vessel for completing a fight, what if, what if Lazarus like slings, the sarcophagus off of his shoulders and like pries open the lid and like looks at his skeletal minions who all sort of like stare up at, him with those hollow eyes, sort of like studying something but not truly understanding it.
Yes, my servants, you have done quite well. Come, join me. Prepare yourself for the journey ahead.
And like the skeletons will march their way like into the sarcophagus and like become a pile of bones for me to like resummon during my next conflict, right? So narratively speaking, Nar says, do you get to keep the skeletons that survived? I don't believe so, because the skeletons are a spell effect and the spells only matter in the combat phase, because the game happens in 2 phases, right? There's exploration and combat. So once we end the fight and we leave combat phase and we re-enter exploration phase, I believe whatever enchantment would keep the skeletons animate probably fades, and they return to their, inert state, and we have to rebuild our army. But narratively speaking, because we love Super Skelly, I think it works within the fiction for us to like recollect their bones into the sarcophagus to keep with us, keep close. Yes, narratively, but not mechanically. Super Skelly lives on in our hearts, just not insofar as the rules allow him to. But we did win that fight. All right, which would put us at 0.5. Give us a thing. So yeah, right now we're not going to see much benefit from the vessel yet, I don't think. But it's good to know that we are pretty near completing it. Excellent. Nar says, I wonder if there are spells to buff your minions even further, then Super Skelly can get more powerful. Well, Super Skelly does kind of Super Skelly, as we've named him, as we've deigned him in this playthrough. The spell itself kind of has some inherent buffs. Like, I spent a bone and a body part to make him Super Skelly, right? Like, I gave him the extra health and the extra damage. But that being said, because we don't have the full ability list in the game, and Gila has gone on to say that there will be a lot of support for pure summoning minion builds in the future, I would not be surprised if there were more spells that specifically dealt with augmenting your minions. In fact, I'm wondering if there's a world where there's a spell that kind of... I mean, Gila, you don't have to listen to any of my suggestions. This is merely me just theory crafting in the ether, right? But, like, let's say there is a spell like bone armor, right? Where it's like you could potentially grant yourself block, for a turn because you're, like, covered in bones. But the way that the spell is stated, it says, like, grant a character. Because it specifically says earlier in the rules, a character refers to enemies and allies, right? So I guess it can apply to any target, any available target. So, like, let's say you had a spell called bone armor and it was, like, grant... given character X amount of block for a turn, right? And maybe that could be a spell that you could use to target a skeletal minion, something like that, or yourself. So it could be used in multiple builds. It could be a spell that you could use, like, if you wanted to do, like, a melee build, and you're like, oh, I just want bone armor because it'll buff me when I'm about to eat a big attack. Or I could use bone armor to grant to a skeletal minion if I want to, like, beef them up and, like, hang back. Gila says, yeah, exactly. There will be ways to boost the minions further. Exactly. Beautiful. Perfect. Can you spend multiple bones and body parts to stack up more bonuses? That's a great question. I did. When I cast that spell, I used a bone and a body part when I summoned Super Skelly. That's how I made him Super Skelly. But maybe I was wrong in doing that. I felt like the Neophyte's Tome. I felt like I read somewhere where you could spend multiple resources at once. And so maybe I wrongfully applied that to spells as well, Gila. You'll have to check me on that. Totally can do it, says Gila, as long as you have them to spend. Perfect. Nar says, yes, now Super Skilly Necroku. Oh my god, Necroku, like Necrogoku. Oh, it's canon. It's too good. Nar, you have really good puns. This is not the first time you've given me a good pun in the stream. Super Skelly Necroku can know what it means to go even further beyond. Yeah, actually, when Necroku is in the sarcophagus, it's actually the hyperbolic time chamber is what's happening. It's just like Necroku's like punching in super slow motion for like for us it's like an hour, but for him it's 1,000 years, just getting super swole. Great. Very cool to know that there will be more minion support. I'm so interested to see what the other spells and abilities... The Necrobolic Time Chamber? Nar, get out. Nar, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing this to us. It's not fair. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to be so witty. You're not allowed to be such a wordsmith. The Necrobolic Time Chamber. I'm furious at you. I'll see myself out now. Yeah, I'm really happy to know that there are gonna be... I'm so interested, like, what is a blood build? What is a bone build? What is a body build? How can I mix and match them? I really like the system. I'm very curious to see how it works. Is that the official name of the vessel now? Oh my god, yeah, of course it is. And I'm so mad at you that you thought of it. The Necrobolic Time Chamber. Oh my god, it's so good. It is really good. Yeah, I'm so curious to see what everything else is going to be. I'm interested if there's... Because with a ranged build, I kind of want there to be like a classic necromancer staff where I can just shoot, you know, things at the enemy. But I guess that is kind of like a spell, you know? But I would like for there to be like a default ranged weapon option that isn't specifically a spell. But that might kind of cut into Spike's deal a bit. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see as time goes on. But I think with that being said, I think this is a really good place to maybe hold the playthrough for now. Because we just finished our first fight. We're dead center in the map. We've been trucking for about 3.5 hours. We filled a realm clock. I feel like this is a pretty decent time. And let me go back up to the top. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I filled in all my clocks. Nar says, random thought, what if the overarching story of Lazarus Grimstone transitions over into Lichdom? Since this system seems to be more about the details and the combat and Lichdom is more narrative, that could be about his overarching goals and schemes where Reap could be when he gets down and dirty. Just run. Hey, I dig that. I mean, I'm never going to tell a part of our community, a fan of the stream, is like, I have a really cool idea for content I'd like to see. Would you... I'm not going to tell you no. That's a great idea. It's really cool. And I mean, if that's something you'd be interested to see, I'd like to do it. And plus, you know, we already have Lazarus. We already have his lore established. So I'd definitely borrow Lazarus and drop him into another system for other explorations. That'd be fun. But yeah, I think this is a great place to hold this session and then pick up again and keep exploring. I'm kind of wondering now when is the right time to fight Lysander, though. I mean, there's still a lot of island to see. And I mean, the way I played Rune was I explored everything. I'm a completionist at heart, so I'm probably going to explore everything before I head back to Lysander. But you know, it's interesting. I'm not quite sure when to trigger that fight. But we'll see what happens. Gila says, this was so much fun to watch. Thank you for sharing the game. Gila, thank you for making the game. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching 3.5 hours of a stranger's stream. Thank you for answering questions in real time. Like, thank you a million times over. Thank you. Yeah, no, this is very cool. I loved Reap. I'm really hoping that, because a couple of other of our community members, Ailing, Loki, Ailing and Loki and 20th really liked Rune and watched multiple episodes of it. And I'm sorry they couldn't be here tonight. But I'm sure they would love to watch another session of this and see it happen and, you know, be here to, you know, experience it with you, Gila. So I'm definitely going to run this again. Actually, let me move this back to, just chat. So that we have more of the screen. But thank you so much for tuning into Level 1 Adventuring tonight. I am so grateful and thankful for the creator of the game that we played tonight to be here on stream, to throw us a like, to throw us a sub. You are too kind, you are too cool, and I am so happy that you're here to share this experience with our community. I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott, and if you're new to Level 1 Adventuring, what are we? We are TTRPG stream. We do other RPGs too. We do some video game stuff, but mostly it's we do solo indie RPGs, much like things like Reap, Rune, Firelights, all that stuff. We also play bigger group games. We have a 5th edition campaign running right now, and the Discord is soon to be a 5th edition play-by-post space set in the world of the larger campaign. So if you want to play some games, join the Discord, follow us on all the things, and sign up for notifications so you can know when we're going live. We really appreciate your time and energy in that regard. This has been Reap. Reap is in playtest right now by Gila RPGs. Reap is going to be kickstarted, and I'm sure Gila could type in the chat exactly when, but I did link it to the chat, and I will link this also to... This episode is going to go live on YouTube. If you catch the VOD on Twitch, great, but if you're too late to that, it will be up on YouTube for you to watch. I'll have all the information to Reap and the Kickstarter linked below so you can get in on the necromantic action yourself. So please check out Gila. Does great games. And then hopefully you'll be able to follow along with Lazarus's journey into next week and beyond. We stream 3 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And usually Wednesday nights are D&D nights, but we didn't have the head count tonight, which is why I shuffled things around. So most likely next week, I will be streaming Reap on either Monday or Tuesday, because I think we can do a D&D session on Wednesday. So Gila, if you'd like to chat about what night would best work for you, I'd definitely work around your schedule, so you could be here again to watch your game played, and hopefully with even more of our community watching. That's a lot of things to talk about. Thank you to StreamLabs and StreamSpell for giving us the cool digital elements that you've seen gracing your screen tonight. And if you'd like to help us out, there's a affiliate link down below you can use to upgrade your own streams. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Tabletop Audio for giving us the cool atmospheric sounds that are free, which are great for small content creators like myself. Thank you, Nar, for telling me when it needed a little restart, because sometimes it does get crunchy on loop. I don't know why. But still, we love Tabletop all the same. Nar says, I'm really looking forward to the play-by-post. Me too. I've been working very hard on it recently because we had someone join out of the blue who was like, I heard you're doing play-by-post. And I'm like, we are! I'm finalizing it like very soon. So I'm like, no more breaks on that. That's going full tilt. But I'm very excited that you're excited for it because we're going to have factions. We're going to have like intrigue. It's going to be fun. Oof. Nar says, oof, I'll probably miss next Wednesday. Then, as I think I have a D&D session, but you'll definitely go for the bot. Oh, great. Like I said, Wednesdays might be D&D anyway, but the D&D sessions are all on the YouTube, so you're missing it then, but you won't miss it all the time, you know? And we just thank you for watching anywhere that you're watching. But with that all said, I think that's all of my usual spiel, and that is so much to go through, so I apologize, and I thank you for sticking with it. Thank you again to Gila for being here tonight. Thank you, Nar, for sticking out for the entire watch, and anyone else who came in. You're going to see more of Reap very soon, and I hope you'll be along for the journey to see what happens with Lysander at this darkened church. And until then, be well. So we'll see you later. Have a great rest of your night. I'm gonna run that outro, that beautiful, beautiful outro.